Ladies, gentlemen, and genetic anomalies, what is happening? Hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and if not, I hope that this stream makes your day at least a little bit better. I am not a newbie, coming to you live from the east coast of the United States of America. And today we have a lot of interesting things to talk about. I'll be talking about what happened to my stream setup. Why was I gone on a week where I was ostensibly planning on streaming quite literally once every day, or at least once every other day. And then I basically went dark for 3 days. I'll talk about that. I'll talk about the LA wildfire stuff. There's some articles out about what might have caused the wildfire, so those will be interesting to watch. There's also a video from Channel 5, Andrew Callahan, I plan on reacting to about that whole situation. There's also the whole thing with TikTok. All the e-boys and the e-girls are crying right now because TikTok is gone, or at least it was supposed to be, until Trump saved it. We'll be talking about that situation. Oh, hey, the Angry Canadian is alive here. He says, good news, I am planning to flee to the States. Oh, wait, hold on. Why did the speech chat miss one of your messages? That's kind of weird. It missed some of your other messages. Let me read all these. Is Yo not a newbie? I streamed earlier of Communism Simulator. Oh, that's just death and starvation, right? I got good news and bad news. Good news, I am planning to flee the States. Oh, dude, that is what's up. That is what's up. Yeah, when you get here, let me know. I do plan on traveling across the States at some point within the next year or two, so I may have to give you a visit. We'll see. Fun chance to shoot content and hang out and whatever. But yeah, there are a lot of topics to talk about. I found an interview with that Bloomberg Television did with the leader of the AFD. I'm really interested in seeing what that's like, because I've heard a lot about, oh, the AFD is far right or whatever, but I'd like to actually hear what the leader of the AFD has to say, because you know how sometimes people get painted as far right or whatever when they're actually not.
I'm also meeting a girl down the.
Oh, interesting. Wait, are there no girls in Canada? But yes, the States do have better opportunities than Canada. So that is interesting. That's a good thing to point out. But anyways, I should actually, hold on, let me pause the music. You know, there we go. Oh, actually the music is ending on its own. So, my computer that I used to stream was down for a while. Not too long, but the hard drive basically died. And actually this whole thing started when I was like mildly interested in decluttering my room, and I have a drawer that's filled with a whole bunch of stuff, and one of the things that's in there is a keyboard. And that keyboard's kind of fancy. It's got all these buttons and things, and I took it out, and I thought that it was like wireless for USB, so I was like, oh, I need to buy a dongle for this thing. And after a while I'm like, you know, this drawer is completely full, I can't fit anything else in there. I should take some stuff out, throw things out, or use it if it's usable. And I was like, well, the big thing is the literal big keyboard. Let me take that out, see if I can connect it to the computer or whatever. If not, I'll just get rid of it because I'm not buying the dongle anytime soon. Well, I look at the bottom and there's the indicator saying this supports Bluetooth. Not in so many words, but it had the Bluetooth logo, and I was like, oh, it's kind of interesting. Let me hook this up to my computer. So I hooked it up to the computer, got it all connected, stuff. I was typing away. It's pretty cool, although I will say it was flat, so it wasn't super ergonomic. This thing at least has, I guess you would call it a foot. It has like a foot, so it is, you know, more comfortable for me to type on, because it's more natural to type like this than type like this. So anyways, I did find that slightly cumbersome, but I was using it whatever, it was fun. But I noticed that like with the row of F keys, it was sort of inverted to how my current keyboard setup works. So right now, if you hit any of these buttons, it'll trigger like the F keys or whatever, but if you press hold FN, it'll do like one of these things. So for example, you can use it to turn up or turn down the sound, pause or play video or audio, whatever, all that type of stuff. So I was kind of getting used to that, and one of the buttons that I hit was the sleep button, and I hit the sleep button and the whole screen kind of like went off, and I was like, oh, the computer must have gone to sleep. So I'm hitting some keys to get it to wake up. Nothing really happens. And so I'm like, oh, okay, well, I hit the power button because that might bring the computer back up from its slumber. But that didn't work. And the light was on when I hit it. So, and then when I hit it, it turned off. So I might have accidentally turned off the computer. But usually you're supposed to be able to just hit the power button to turn the computer off. But it didn't like go through a graceful shutdown. It just like turned off. So I hit the power button again, and when it comes back on, it says no boot device found. And I found that really curious. And so I did a lot of tests and diagnostics. The long and the short of it is that the hard drive has failed. At first I thought it was just the boot partition got corrupted, but no, because the thing is, the computer very well could have gone to sleep and set up something in the boot partition that says, hey, when I turn on, send me back to the environment I was already. Don't boot the computer like normal. And in changing that boot setup in the partition, maybe something could have got corrupted. That was my initial thought. But then I did more tests and I found out, hey, this thing is actually corrupted. Like I'm plugging it in using a sled to a different computer and it's still not showing up. So after all of that rigmarole, I was like, you know what? I need to just do a completely fresh restall on this machine. That's what I did. I had 2 hard drives in the closet. I pulled them out. I installed Linux on one of them. I installed Windows on the other. I did some tests. And I was almost all the way set up with Linux. And then I tried gaming, and the games did not work at all. I tried Minecraft. Minecraft was like the easy, basic initial game that was like, okay, if this system can run Minecraft, then at least I'm set for a little bit. But no, that did not work. It was slow, it was buggy. Like I moved the mouse a little bit and my camera angle whips all across the screen. Worked horribly. So it turned out that a lot of those issues was due to I had a Windows environment, which I need to use a Windows environment for at least Halo, because I bought it from the Microsoft store. So I need to like access my account and everything. And if I do a virtual machine style setup, that environment cannot use the GPU. And so because it couldn't use the GPU at all, not even integrated graphics, it was really struggling with stuff. So I was like, you know what, I give up. Switching to Linux, I'm going to go back to Windows. So I set everything up in Windows, and everything in Windows is working fine. Thankfully, I think almost literally everything that I do is in the cloud somewhere. I don't even use a lot of cloud drives, but like I code a little bit. All the codes are on the GitHub account. What else? I do like streaming stuff. All that streaming stuff is up in the cloud. All the VODs are online. I did lose, I think, my photo editing templates that I had for the thumbnails and the streams. So the most recent video that's on the highlights channel doesn't have a thumbnail, but I'll make a new thumbnail. That's not going to be thumbnail system. That's not going to be too hard for me to figure out. I happen to have so few passwords, thank God, that I did not forget my credentials. So I was able to get into everything. I have like 5 channels for my streaming stuff. I was able to get into all of them. So many things. So very, very grateful and thankful that I just so happened to have a hard drive in the closet to use, so that I could get up and running so quickly, because I don't have the funds right now to just go out and get a whole new computer or even go out and get a new hard drive. So very, very thankful that I have that in the background, and I'm able to run this operation and keep on streaming. Now, if I couldn't have gotten this computer up and running, I probably would have still done some streaming. It probably would have just been from my phone. The last time that this happened, I did stream from my phone, and it worked well enough. So I have no aversion to going through that method. But it's nice to be able to stream from a proper setup with something that sounds like an SMB, SM7B, sorry, and a Brio 4K webcam. Very, very nice to have all of those nice amenities. So yeah, so I've set up a system. I'm going to be backing up my passwords and stuff, but you know, very, very thankful and grateful that more damage wasn't done and I'm able to get back up and running very swiftly. So you're going to see more content from me. I'm not going to be stopping anytime soon. We're just going to keep it pushing as if nothing ever happened, asterisk, you know, because there are going to be little tweaks here and there I'm going to need to do. You know, these settings I have for my microphone are fresh. I might tweak some things with the camera here and there. I noticed that there's a bad vertical flicker, at least in my end. Maybe it's compressed by YouTube to the point where you can't tell the difference. But yeah, so that's pretty much all the background. If you were curious and saw my messages in the Discord server, that sort of explains everything. You might have been a little confused as well if you saw my test stream that I did last night, which I just made unlisted, so it's exclusive content to the ones who have the link. But anyways, figured I would mention that. Figured I would talk about that. So now that we have that out of the way, we can get on to other topics. The Grenade says your computer was busy what? I'm a little confused. Kim Jong invaded your computer. No, this actually was something I should have seen from a mile away, because if you go to my VODs, you'll actually see moments where my computer literally crashed, and those were indications that my hard drive was indeed bad. Like, there are these VODs. So on the channel, if I have an issue with the stream, or if I stream somewhere else, like Kick, for example, when I did the Kick stream, I'll upload them here. So this is a VODs channel, basically. I stream live here, but it is a VODs channel. So if you want to see my live streams that I streamed here, you can go here. But also for other stuff like broken VODs and things, I combine them and I post them here. So in both of these VODs, you can tell, like, there were bad crashes. And like, let me see here. Yeah, so like, look, there was this, for example.
I'm shooting them with my crossbow.
I don't know if you guys remember this.
Yeah, because you're not. I'm shooting down. I'm on base. I find this dude monster, and you open the like, look, I'm literally about to die again. You're not even doing. I haven't done it yet.
I died again there.
Alright, let's go.
Why'd you put skeletons in the base, though? That seems slightly unwise.
I can do that. Mercy, you like them.
Okay. Okay, we're back. Not 100% sure what happened there, but a whole bunch of stuff just started crashing. Yeah, so it wasn't just that, like, the computer, like, just shut off. Like, stuff froze. I heard, like, a looping sound. I could hit keys and move the mouse and nothing happened. I think the same thing happened here. Actually, this happened while I was talking to the Angry Canadian. Let me see if I can find the spot. Oh yeah, it was right here. And it was interesting because when this one happened, I was talking to the Angry Canadian. Oh. And the game froze, but I could still hear the Angry Canadian. No. I think the Angry Canadian, the Discord froze, but I was able to play for a little bit. I was like, where'd he go? And then the computer froze. Okay, testing. Let's see if this is going through. Actually, you know what? I can start speaking because the I wonder if I actually mention here that the hard drive probably is going bad. I'm gonna get some recordings of it'll be on the VOD. But actually, what did my VOD not save? Doesn't even look like my VOD saved. I don't know what happened. But if you guys in the Discord, you saw I got a BSOD. Got a little blue screen of death error message. Oh yeah, no, it looks like my my VOD got corrupted. Like it did not save. So anyways, not to belabor the point, I'm sure that you guys find this all boring, but essentially my hard drive is old. It died. So we're here with other hard drives. technically I probably should still get a new hard drive at the very least, because what I'm running off now is HDDs, and those have less shelf life than an SSD. But in all honesty, at this point, I would be quite happy with getting a whole new computer. It just is a matter of saving up the funds. I'm not sure how long it'll take for me to do that, to get the type of computer that I would want. Because it'd be nice to run like Alienware if that was possible. Like Alienware would be crazy. Of course it would be. But this is like an old machine. There are other parts in here that technically might be liable to die at some point. So it's not like I'm not still running off of borrowed time. This is a computer I think has lasted like 2 years or so, and it was refurbished before that. So, it's a YMMV situation there. But I'm doing what I can. Hopefully it doesn't crash. Of course I'm, crossing my fingers and whatnot, but I think I should be safe for the at least foreseeable future. The Angry Canadian says, how does the hard drive go bad? It could be old, or dust could get into it or something. It's very possible the dust got into it because there was a whole bunch of dust on the case that I actually blew out when I saw that the hard drive went bad. So it's possible dust played a role here as well. But yeah, we'll see. Depending, I think maybe in the back half of the year I might replace this machine. But that's behind the scenes stuff that you guys probably don't really care about as much. You guys probably care a little bit more about politics. Hold on. Is there an update on what might have caused the California wildfires? Let's see. Okay. I did find something. All right, so we've got this article here. Everybody here knows that there are these horrendous wildfires going on, happening now in California. It's a shame what's been going on. The Associated Press put out this article here called "What Ignited the Deadly California Wildfires? Investigators Consider an Array of Possibilities." People are pretty upset about the wildfires, understandably so, and looking for answers. I don't think that there's been an official cause released yet, but this article kind of goes over what we know so far. I know this article's a few days old, but it doesn't look like there's new information as of yet, at least at the time of me recording this video. It says here, investigators are considering an array of possible ignition sources for the huge fires that have killed at least 24 people and destroyed thousands of homes and businesses in the Los Angeles area. In hilly upscale Pacific Palisades, home to Hollywood stars like Jamie Lee Curtis and Billy Crystal, who lost houses in the fire, which is awful. Officials have placed the origin of the wind-whipped blaze behind a home on Piedra Morada Drive, which sits above a densely wooded arroyo. Oh, that's interesting. So they know exactly where it started. I actually didn't know that. While lightning is the most common source of fires in the U.S., according to the National Fire Protection Association, investigators were able to rule that out quickly. There were no sources of lightning in the Palisades area or the terrain around the Eaton fire, which started in East Los Angeles County and has also destroyed hundreds of homes. The two most common causes: fires intentionally set and those sparked by utility lines. This is next two most common causes: fires intentionally set and those sparked by utility lines. That makes sense, actually. Not shocked about that at all. I mean, what about like accidents, right? Like if you are, smoking in the woods and you throw a cigarette into the bushes, like, and that starts a fire. I don't know if that is. Would you call that intentional? Maybe it would be considered intentional to a degree. You know what you're doing at that point. John Lentini, owner of Scientific Fire Analysis not California. John Lentini, owner of Scientific Fire Analysis in Florida, who has investigated large fires in California, including the Oakland Hills fire in 1991, said the size and scope of the blaze doesn't change the approach to finding out what caused it. This was once a small fire, Lentini said. People will focus on where the fire started, determine the origin, and look around the origin and determine the cause. So far, there has been no official indication of arson in either blaze, and utility lines have not yet been identified as a cause either. Utilities are required to report to the California Public Utilities Commission when they know of electric incidents potentially associated with a wildfire. Terry Prosper, the Commission's communications director, said via email. CPUC staff then investigate to see if there were violations of state law. The 2017 Thomas Fire, one of the largest fires in state history, was sparked by Southern California Edison power lines. They came into contact during high wind. Investigators determined the blaze killed 2 people and charred more than 440 square miles. Who cares about the kilometers? On Friday, Southern California Edison filed a report with the CPUC related to the Eaton Fire in the hills near Pasadena, an area the utility serves. Edison said it has not received any suggestions that its equipment was involved in the ignition of that fire, but that it filed the report with state utilities regulators out of an abundance of caution after receiving evidence preservation notices from insurance company lawyers. Preliminary analysis by SCE of electrical circuit information for the energized transmission lines going through the area for 12 hours prior to the reported start time of the fire shows no interruption or electrical or operational anomalies until more than an hour after the reported start time of the fire. Yeah, so that indicates that this fire was not caused by an electrical issue. I think it's probably on purpose or accident, but it was probably human caused, and not in the whole global warming thing sense of the word. It's just, I think someone just caused the fire. But yeah, I think one thing to consider is that California is actually ridiculously dry. You know, of course, in that region, it's naturally going to be hot in certain times of the year, but it's ridiculously dry over there. There are various policies that have led to this. You know, they don't do controlled burns like they should in certain areas. They don't you know, get rid of, you know, dead and dying trees that are all dried out and stuff. They don't allow in extra water in places that are super dry that could help keep areas like this from getting burnt to a crisp. There are lots of things that California should have done that they didn't do here that I think in due time people are going to call out the local government for. But for now, I think it's most pertinent to, you know, encourage the California government to continue to provide aid, which it seems like they've been providing some aid, from what I can tell. To continue providing aid and to get to the bottom of who set the wildfire on fire in the first place, because if they did it on purpose, then of course that person needs to be held accountable. I think that the finger pointing of, you know, how the state was mismanaging their wildlife, that's something that could be addressed later, especially because that's not new, right? California being dry is not new. It's been like this for a while. So I don't think it does anything. It doesn't do anyone any help to focus on that when we have people now who need help, right? And there's potentially someone now who also needs to be brought to justice. So I think that when it comes to thinking about and talking about this wildfire, that would be sort of like the most helpful approach and mindset to put yourself in when it comes to this whole thing. CNN made this video, though. They talked about, CNN made a video talking about the wildfire in LA. They talked to some witnesses. Allegedly, there was a video that showed the start of the fire. I'm slightly dubious, in my opinion, but then I also don't know a whole lot. I'm definitely going to trust CNN to inform me. But here's the video that they made. It's a little segment from the stream from one of their broadcasts, I think.
Guys, we gotta go up. Let's go up. Let's go up.
Oh no.
These
These videos, obtained by CNN, appear to show the beginning of 2 wildfires in Los Angeles. In the first video, taken on the morning of January 7th and later shared with the Associated Press, Kai Cranmore was hiking with friends in Temescal Canyon when they spotted smoke on the horizon.
Turned around and there was a plume of smoke just like rolling over the mountain like right behind us.
This satellite image, captured by the European Space Agency and timestamped at 10:37 a.m. local time, shows the first signs of the Palisades fire tearing through the area. CNN geolocated Cranmore's video to an area near the site of that smoke.
Wow.
I need you to come out here right now.
Later that day, Ring doorbell footage shows Cheryl Koo alerting her husband Jeffrey to a nearby fire she saw on her drive home from work.
And because there was no power, the neighborhood was dark, the canyon was dark. She could see a light in the hillside, and as she got closer to the house, sure enough, it was burning bright, and it was the base of the tower on fire.
Minutes later, cell phone video taken by Jeffrey appears to show the base of an electrical tower in Eaton Canyon on fire. These are potential.
Wait, so that is actually an electrical installation, but the cause, I'm not sure if that's an electrical fire. From what I know of electrical fires, they spark up and they are huge, and that's a big fire. To be fair, I don't want to downplay the size of that fire, but from what I've seen, like for electrical transformers just like going up, it's like the whole thing is ablaze. So if this was an electrical fire, and again, I'm not an expert, but if this was electrical fire, what I would assume would happen is the entire tower would be on fire. So you'd see this big vertical fire. The lines themselves would be on fire too if they're not already burnt. The electrical fires spread extremely quickly. Maybe someone just threw a cigarette out when they were clocking out from work after working at the electrical tower.
Actually, the first images of the Eaton fire.
We were in the panic mode of just trying to get out as fast as we can. We did see the embers flying. It was almost like snow flurries, but instead it's fire.
At the same time the Coos were evacuating, Pedro Rojas captured another angle of flames erupting at the base of the transmission tower from his backyard in Pasadena. Local officials are investigating the area as the possible origin site of the fire, according to the Los Angeles Times.
Investigators are trying to get to the bottom of the question that's on everyone's mind. How did all of this happen? What started the 2 most destructive fires in Southern California history?
Oh yeah, that's right, because it's not just one fire, it's multiple fires. Yeah, that's another point. And interesting that they happened around the same time.
Now, we know the dry brush and the high winds help fuel the flames. You can see here just how fast the Palisades fire grew. What started more than a week ago has spread and spread and spread. It's now burned more than 23,000 acres. That's more than 37 square miles, killing at least 9 people for that fire alone, scorching 5,000 structures. It's currently, this fire in particular, 18% contained. But what was the source of that initial spark? Well, the first signs of the inferno were actually early on Tuesday, January 7th. CAL FIRE says that it started around 10:30 in the morning. Now, this video shows smoke rolling off the hills around the Palisades minutes after 10:30. Now, this satellite image was taken at 10:37. Now, at that point, the fire was a tiny fraction of what it would eventually go on to become. And now we're learning the Palisades fire appears to have started very close to another blaze that broke out just 6 days earlier on New Year's Day.
You know what I find really interesting? And actually, you know what? I'm going to pull up the proof of this because I don't want to be just shooting from the hip or say something and you guys are like, oh, no, not a newbie. You're making stuff up. Let me see. California. Let's see here. California Eaton fire. So if there's a Wikipedia article about this, I'm going to pull this up right here. And where can I find the fire warning? Because I saw news that there's going to be a fire warning. Here, let me pull this up. When did it start? It started on January 7th. Oh, why is this not working? Maybe it's because I'm using California. So weird. I'm trying to use the search by time feature, but it's not working. At least in fire risk. There's like fire risk or fire warning. Let me look it up in my Firefox-based browser, see if that works. Okay, one. Here, let me do, just to be a little bit more specific. And I promise that there's a reason why I'm going through all of this, by the way. Okay. I found this incredibly bizarre. So okay, I found this incredibly bizarre. I have never seen something like this happen. And again, I'm not saying that this was I'm not going to be all conspiratorial or whatever, but I just found this super interesting because I saw headlines that before the wildfire started, and there were these headlines right here. Okay, I finally found them. Okay, so this one says, let me just minimize this on the side. Okay, this one says life-threatening windstorm to increase fire danger in Southern California, NWS. Parts of Southern California that were impacted by severe wildfires last month will be again threatened with critical fire danger in the coming days. The National Weather Service has issued a high wind warning and red flag warning from Los Angeles down to the Mexican border from Tuesday through Wednesday morning. During that time, strong Santa Ana winds could gust 40 miles per hour to 60 miles per hour, even reaching up to 80 miles per hour locally in some spots, forecasts show. On Monday evening, California Governor Gavin Newsom directed state departments to position fire engines, hand crews, aircraft, additional support in areas that could be impacted. The state is taking early proactive steps to coordinate with local partners and protect communities as dangerous weather enters our states. So it was basically just a windstorm, right? And so it says here, ahead of extreme fire weather conditions forecasted in several Southern California counties beginning Tuesday, Governor Gavin Newsom has directed state departments to coordinate and strategically position fire engines, hand crews, aircraft, and additional support in key areas. The headline here is California mobilizes resources to Southern California during windstorm and fire weather conditions. So and this is on the 6th, by the way. It says that the actual Eaton fire began on the 7th. Now, there was the Palisades fire. I think, was that on the 6th as well? Here, let me see. Palisades. The Palisades fire started on the 7th too. So I saw this and I was like, huh. I didn't know they had forecasts for wildfires. This is interesting. And then I went on about my day. Actually, it was the next day because this warning came late at night. We can actually see the timestamp here. This is 11:30. It was like very early. It was like basically as soon as I clocked in for work, I checked my RSS feeds. I saw these articles about a fire warning in California. I'm like, huh, very interesting. And then a few hours later, I hear that there's a wildfire. I was like, how do they know it's going to happen? I mean, I guess you can easily predict, right? If there are going to be all these massive winds, then of course you have the threat of there being a wildfire. But just the stunning accuracy where it's like, people are like, oh, hey, there's a fire warning. And then a few hours later, oh, hey, there's a fire. That just floored me, honestly.
This is the burn scar from that fire from a satellite image on January 1st. Here's that same burn scar on the image on the Palisades fire. It's less than 300 yards from where it looks like.
The angry Canadian in the chat is saying hashtag Newsom did it. No, I don't think Gavin Newsom caused a fire in his own state. Many people are saying that this is going to be the biggest scandal of Gavin Newsom's political career. I disagree, but no, Gavin Newsom would never do this just because he does not have that level of political capital to waste on these fires. The angry Canadian says it's because the fires were staged. What do you mean the fires were staged? Are you saying they didn't happen? Or are you saying that they were caused intentionally by a foreign actor? It's possible it was caused by a foreign actor. I'm not seeing any proof of that. I will say that if I was a foreign actor trying to take down infrastructure, I would say along a wide swath of a particular American state, I would say this is how I would do it if I was going to use arson. I think there are probably more efficient ways to do that, but if you could probably start a fire like this without getting detected, I would imagine. Still, there's no proof, by the way, just to be clear, that this was caused by a state actor, like by Russia or someone. The angry Canadian said deep state paid him and the insurance companies to burn it. I highly doubt this. I highly doubt this. The deep state paid him? I don't know what amount of money it would take to say, hey, Gavin Newsom, burn all the political capital you have when you're trying to run for president in 4 years. I just don't think that's entirely likely. It's, of course, you could always say, oh, they blackmailed him, but like, honestly, you could say that about anyone. And also, I just think there's no proof of any of this. So do you think Deep State's going to admit to their malice? No, the Deep State's not going to admit to their malice, but I just don't think this is the type of thing that the American Deep State would do. There's no benefit to the Deep State in setting California on fire, I don't think. It says they got loaded resources to hide proof. Well, to be fair, with something like this, if you did this on purpose, you don't really even have a lot of proof to leave. Especially if you planned it all through analog. You would just like, I don't know, get a match, set something on fire, and walk away. You know, maybe you just don't bring your cell phone with you or something. But other than that, like, I don't know what proof there would be to even hide. This is a very cheap way to cause a lot of damage. As Deep State did the dirty work. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. You can say what you want in my chat, but like, these are conspiracy theories. And to be fair, there's nothing wrong with having conspiracy theories. But if you're going to be a conspiracy theorist, it's important to be like, hey, I don't know whether or not this is true. This might be true, and I speculate sometimes, and I give that caveat. That doesn't mean, like, there's a difference between finding conspiracy theories interesting and being a conspiracy theorist. Because if you're a conspiracy theorist, that means you're diving headlong, believing things that haven't been proven true yet, and that's not a place that you necessarily want to be. That's where you get a little bit more dangerous, and dangerous territory there. The Canadian says, but what if Deep State was paid by BlackRock because BlackRock wanted those properties? I think when we say Deep State, we're talking about political entities taking action with political ends. That's a little bit different than a private entity taking action for private ends. I don't think that BlackRock would set things on fire. I think that there's a little bit too much legal that puts them in too much legal jeopardy, and I don't think they would want to put themselves in that precarious situation. Because even if companies are not sticklers for obeying the law, there are certain lines that I think a lot of companies just don't want to cross, because then you've got a crisis that you've got to manage. You got a situation where it's like, oh, you know, if we broke the law, we got to put in all this effort into covering it up. It's just a lot of hassle that's just not worth it for a lot of companies, in my opinion. And I think this is the type of thing that if BlackRock did it, and it was found out that BlackRock did it, then they would definitely pay a hefty price for setting this on fire. So I am dubious to the concept that BlackRock did this. He said BlackRock tried to assassinate Trump. Dude, I don't. There's no proof of that at all. Everything pointing to that is completely circumstantial, dude. Maybe send proof if you have proof into the Discord channel, but or Discord server. But I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
Like the Palisades blaze began. Now, people are asking, could the winds have rekindled smoldering debris from that New Year's Day fire? Well, agents in the ATF are trying to figure it all out. But a source tells us there is no leading theory at the moment. And then there's the Eaton fire. Now, CAL FIRE says it started at 6:18 p.m. on Tuesday. Here's video from an Altadena resident just a minute later.
Oh no!
Now, what he's filming there is an electrical tower with flames licking away at the base of it, as you see, and that's not the only vantage point. Another nearby resident, they recorded this. It was taken around 6:24. Now, no cause of the fire has been determined yet, but the Los Angeles Times is reporting that authorities are investigating an electrical tower as the possible origin site. The city's electric company.
Hey guys, you think that might be the origin site right there where you see that fire? You think the fire might have started where the fire is? I mean, I think pretty much everyone at this point is like, yeah, the fire started over there, at least this one. But it's not particularly helpful because we could find out where the origin location is, but it's like, who started it? Was it on accident? Was it on purpose? How was the fire started? Was there a way that the fire could have been prevented from spreading right after it started? Like, could they have installed sprinklers under the electrical tower or something? Like there are a million questions that you could ask, but I think that acting like it's a big W to say, oh, look, it looks like the fire that started around the area of the electrical tower actually started at the electrical tower. Huh? Who knew? It's like basic information that you could tell just by, in the earlier video where it's like, hey, the first videos of this showed this happening at this area. Satellite footage confirmed that the fire started in the exact same place. So, we don't need the Los Angeles Times to tell us that the fire started at the base of the electrical tower.
An electrical tower as the possible origin site. The city's electric company is already facing a lawsuit, by the way. Southern California Edison says it found no electric company. An electrical tower as the possible origin site. The city's electric company is already facing a lawsuit, by the way. Southern California.
What is that lawsuit? I'm going to look this up right now. What is this? No, I don't want to use the Brave browser. I'm still setting the search engines up and everything. Oh, this is interesting. This is very interesting. Let me do a time-based search to see if I could find anything from before the fire, because I think that also would be important to know. Here, let me see. I don't know how long the lawsuit is, so let's go back to 2023. Here, let me sort by date. I'm not seeing anything about that that lawsuit, honestly. But I did find these things right here. So there were these other two lawsuits, articles about the lawsuit. So this is after the fire started, of course, completely different. This is from NPR. Lawsuits allege power company involvement in LA wildfires. At least 2 lawsuits have been filed against Southern California Edison Power Company on the speculation that faulty power lines may have sparked the Eden fire, which has claimed at least 16 lives and destroyed over 1,000 structures. ATF has not determined the cause of the fire. The agency said it has just begun the investigations of the Eden and Palisades fire and are still burning, but it has to stop speculation. Any indication of what that originally, what that other case was? It says here, Southern California Edison has paid hundreds of millions of dollars in settlements related to at least 7 other wildfires in recent years, including $80 million settlements to the U.S. Forest Service for the 2017 Thomas Fire and the County of Los Angeles for the 2020 Bobcat Fire. But here, let's see if we do this. Southern California Edison. If I look this up on Wikipedia, there's got to be they had to mention a lawsuit there if a lawsuit actually did take place. I'm not seeing anything about that lawsuit. So maybe she's referring to lawsuits that were filed after the fire started.
Edison says it found no problems around the time of the fire.
Yeah, actually, probably, because those articles said that they got the lawsuit started around the 13th, and his video was done on the 15th. So
Southern California Edison says it found no problems around the time of the fire. I want to bring in CNN's Nick Watt, who's live in Pacific Palisades. Nick, there have been concerns all day about the return of those now infamous Santa Ana winds. So far, though, the gusts have not been as strong as expected. How long is that going to last?
Well, hopefully a long time, but at about 3 a.m. our time, West Coast, so 6 a.m. your time, they are forecast to pick up again. You know, we went through this drill last night where we thought that the winds were really going to pick up in the middle of the night. You know, there was a weather forecaster on the local news who was talking about these people being at the most danger as he had his hand alarmingly over exactly where I live. So my truck is full of a couple of pictures and some stuff from my house right now. If we get through tonight, we will be good. So fingers crossed the forecast is wrong again. I mean, it's been great news. And frankly, the Palisades fire today has been very inactive. No real active flame. A few hot spots around the fringes that they've been really trying to damp down just in case that wind does pick up. And, you know, another theme of the day has been, you know, Mayor Bass talking about, you know, it's time to look forward. It's time to start rebuilding. You know, she and the governor are signing executive directives, executive orders to try and make the permitting process a lot faster, to cut a lot of the red tape, which is notorious here in LA, trying to cut a lot of that red tape so that the rebuilding can happen. I mean, I drove along Sunset Boulevard through the Palisades earlier, and, you know, all the utility trucks are now there, you know, chopping up the trees that have fallen over, dealing with the gas lines, dealing with the power lines, but it is going to be a monumental task. But for now, as I say, the real focus is, fingers crossed, hoping that those winds don't really pick up again tonight, because, you know, a lot has burned here, but there's still a lot of vegetation. You know, last winter I was covering floods in Los Angeles. That just, there was a bloom of growth that then dried out. A lot of that stuff's still around, so fingers crossed.
Yep, and they didn't get rid of it. But one thing that's interesting is that he mentioned the red tape. It is true that they're starting to remove a lot of red tape when it comes to regulations in building new structures in California. Now, I find it interesting because red tape, when it comes to urban development, is one of the major contributors to the culture that we see now of, it's not even a culture, but a phenomenon that we see now of all these just apartments being built all over the place, but no houses. And all of the apartments basically looking the same, more or less. So I wonder if this means, and it feels a little bit morbid to say this, especially considering that the fire is still raging to an extent. But part of me wonders if this will lead to more creative urban development and urban planning in kind of determining what these areas look like moving forward. Like, it's very possible that what we see here might be the future of American suburbs, especially affluent suburbs, because they're not going to be as restricted. So they might be able to, the building and land developers might be able to do things here that they wouldn't be able to do ordinarily.
Certainly, and thinking about that, I won't forget, this is also not just a story you're covering, this is your home, and thinking about how impactful and personal it is to you as well, Nick. And you actually spent some of the day around the trails where the Palisades fire started.
Yeah.
We're hearing a lot about the investigation. Obviously, it's in its infancy, but what are you learning about the investigation into how this started?
Well, yeah, we are up in what is called the sort of general area of origin. It's just on this hill behind me. You see the police are here. They have not been letting anybody in all day. You know, normally media are allowed anywhere in wildfires, not here because this is a potential crime scene. So you mentioned that previous fire, January 1st, early hours of New Year's Day. That was just over there. So listen, that's obviously something they're looking into. Were there embers, something still burning under the ground that was then just reinvigorated by that wind? Arson is also obviously on the table. You know, they had dogs out here in the past few days sniffing for accelerants. And there are also, you can't see them because it's dark, but there are 2 utility poles up there right now.
Oh, that's interesting. So I would imagine if dogs were sniffing for accelerants, I haven't heard or seen any articles about accelerants that no accelerants were found. Very interesting.
Listen, what they generally try and do is, you know, kind of rule stuff out and
because by the way, an accelerant that would something that make the fire grow quicker. That's the type of thing you would expect to see if this was indeed intentional.
On what might the cause actually be. The other thing that they're doing right now is they're trying to get from this sort of general area of origin down to a specific area. One investigator I spoke to today said they try and get it down to basically the size of a dinner plate. And the way that they do that is you have investigators actually on their hands and knees looking at every single piece of vegetation, every pebble, every blade of grass, figuring out which side the fire reach that particular item, and then they can map that, flag that, and try and just hone in on that area, because obviously if you can figure out exactly where it started, that's going to be a huge help to figure out why it started.
True. It says, FYI, even a broken glass bottle or bottle of water can cause a fire if the sun shines on it. Many factors to consider. Is that true? I mean, it had to be some crazy heat and sunlight and some insanely dry conditions, which, to be fair, California has, in order for something like that to happen, I would imagine. Interesting. This person in the comments says I would not rule out a fire starter, but they literally said there were no accelerants. So the person says they do have satellite imagery, but it's imagery. It's not video footage. It's very, very different. It's like basically a time lapse. If you did a live video feed of the entire world, you wouldn't be able to store that anywhere. It'd be too much. So yes, they do have satellite imagery, but that doesn't mean they have like satellite video of everything happening for the entire day or whatever. That would just be a little preposterous. So I definitely wish the authorities luck in finding out who started the wildfires. I think that for closure for both the general public as well as the people affected by the fire, and also to sort of not leave this as an open-ended case that leads to more conspiracy theories. I think that's all going to help everyone in America when it comes to this situation. So yeah, wishing them the best in all of that. The Angry Canadian says, why don't we just stop setting stuff on fire? Well, we don't know if this was intentional, to be fair. So we don't know that that's the solution if we don't know that that starting fires was the cause of the problem. The Angry Canadian says he's correct. The glass reflects the sun, can easily double the temperature easily. Oh, interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I know that you can start fires with glass, but I thought you have to like hold it up over like a piece of something in order to actually start the fire. Like I didn't know if it's just laying on the ground it can be started on fire. But I mean, I guess if you throw a glass bottle on a bush, you know, bush hits the glass and then hits the foliage below. So you know, you do have a good point there. The Angry Canadian says 90% of fires are intentionally started. That's just not true. Where are you getting that stat from? I don't think that's true at all. What percentage of, and now let's do wildfires because that's more relevant. What percentage of wildfires are started intentionally? Oh, wow, you're right. You're right, actually. I was completely wrong. This is from the National Park Service. Nearly 85% of wildland fires in the United States are caused by humans. Human-caused fires result from campfires left unattended, the burning of debris, equipment use and malfunctions, negligently discarded cigarettes, and intended acts of arson. I thought I saw stuff that said that the majority of wildfires were caused by lightning, though. Actually, you know what? That might be the majority of natural causes of wildfires, now that I think about it. Wait a second, what is this? Okay, here's some interesting context brought to you by the New York Times. So this is from an article from 2020. It says human activity causes the majority of wildfires, whether through downed power lines, accidentally thrown sparks, or arson, but by some measures the effect of lightning on wildfires is disproportionately large. According to the U.S. Forest Service's wildfire database, 44% of wildfires across the western United States were triggered by lightning, but those were responsible for 71% of the area burned between 1992 and 2015, the most recent data available. So what that shows is if you see a fire, in general, it's most likely caused by a human. But if you see a big fire, it's most likely caused naturally. So I think that sort of adds some texture and context to it. That actually is probably why one of the earliest questions that they were asking was, hey, was this caused by lightning? So yeah, not that you were entirely wrong, the Increated. He left the chat message here saying non-newbie beats up the Increated. No, I'm not beating you up. I'm just saying that there's some additional context there. You were right on the raw facts of the situation. Now, Andrew Callahan made this video called LA Wildfires where he went and he went and talked to some of the survivors there. So I do want to watch this. I have wanted to watch more Channel 5 on the streams than I have. This felt like a really good opportunity and excuse to check out Andrew Callahan's stuff, because apparently he does some really good journalism.
There was no help, no fire department, not in our area. We didn't see one until now that they're coming by.
On the flip side of that, I can sit there and say, well, you need to do something about the homeless encampments. A lot of fires lately, especially in California, are the homeless. Also the dismanagement of the forest. It's just...
Yeah, I did hear anecdotally, it was a podcaster that I listened to, I forget who, but she was like, yeah, I had to evacuate my home, and as I was evacuating my home and going in one direction, I had to stop because there was another fire there, started at a homeless encampment. Now, I don't know why there's so many fires in homeless encampments. That's an interesting question, but apparently that is actually a thing in California.
A situation like this, you had the Palisade fire start and then you had this one start. Now you're stretching the resources.
The firefighters, they stretched thin up here. They've helped as much as they could.
But you're really not going to stop a wind fire like this.
Bro, I've never seen anything like this. It feels like literally like an apocalypse. This is my old elementary, engulfed in flames right by my mom's house. Yeah, bro, everything's just going to shit right now.
We were here
for over 40 years. Now it's all gone.
Just seeing stuff like this just brings me to tears, bro. I just had to go water down my homie's house, took his bird. Homie was just chilling. He left him there because he left him last night.
Damn.
I can't leave animals there, bro. No animal, no life gets left behind.
Yo, what up? We were in Altadena, California.
Fucking Altadena, homie.
There's smoke and fire all around us.
10 people have been killed in the devastating wildfires in Los Angeles.
This is one of the 5 wildfires that have broke out in LA in the past 24 hours.
It just, I don't know, it just keeps sparking up back by itself. It just doesn't turn off.
As you can see, unfortunately, this house did not survive. Still on fire. Pretty depressing. We're going to talk to some people around here and see how they're being affected. So let's get into it.
My name is Susana Larios, and as you can see, my house burned this morning. We lost everything. Thank God that we're all alive, that we were able to evacuate and, go to safety until now that we return back to see our house gone. This is unreal. We've been here for 13 years. Everything is gone. We didn't even get a chance to actually take anything out of our house.
Was there anything in the house in particular that you feel like you're really sad about not being able to get?
Our family pictures, our dog's ashes. We had them cremated and they were in our house, and just those personal belongings. Everything else is material. It can be replaced, but memories, when they were young, my kids were young, I will never get those pictures back.
What's one of your favorite memories here?
We had a pool, so
yeah.
Family times, barbecues, summer, this is the place to be. I think first time coming into the house, pool wasn't ready, but our dog decided to jump in, so we went after him.
He actually fell in the pool, and he went in a swampy pool and rescue him from drowning.
Oh, you did?
Because he didn't know how to swim, and he was, running around in a circle and fell in the pool. So
was that the same dog whose ashes was in there, or a different dog?
No, it's the
Nike.
same. Yeah, the same.
Wow.
Yeah, the same ashes.
What kind of dog was Nike?
A bull terrier.
Yeah, that's the pool.
We had a pool table over there. It's gone. This is the back house to the house. You can't see not even one room. It's a 2-story house.
As far as like fire insurance, is that something that you had?
I hope so. I mean, yes, that's one of the things I remember talking to our agent, State Farm, and hopefully we do have that insurance.
Dude, they say that State Farm is there like a good neighbor, but I do not see them.
State Farm canceled hundreds of homeowners' insurance policies for residents in many of the same areas in the path of the Southern California wildfires. The insurance company's reasoning for canceling policies was due to concerns about the increased frequency and magnitude of wildfires in the state.
Okay, I actually did want to talk about this at some point. This is a really good opportunity for me to talk about this. So it was brought to my attention that this was something that took place and something that occurred. And to be honest, I can't really blame these insurance companies for doing that. Now, I do think that, if you pay someone for a service, you should fulfill that service. So I'm not aware of the method that they used to cancel this insurance. It might have been shady or illegal. I don't know that for a fact. But I do know that if I was in these companies' shoes, I most certainly would have wanted to cancel these policies, because California has been drying itself out for decades now, at least under Gavin Newsom's leadership, right? They should be doing controlled burns. They're not doing those. They should be watering some of the dry areas of wildlife and foliage. They're not doing that either. They should be removing dead and dying trees and debris. Not doing that. So with all of these factors, California has become a tinderbox. I don't think anyone is surprised, except for maybe perhaps the residents, that California has been on fire and there was a massive fire of this scale. I think a lot of people, I've heard, apparently Joe Rogan used to live in California. He spends a lot of firefighters over there, and they kept telling him, like, he's mentioned it 3 times in the past, 6 months, times that the Californian firefighters have been telling him, like, man, this place is about to blow. It's ridiculous. So everyone looking at this could see from a mile away that a wildfire like this would take place, and that includes insurance companies. Now, insurance companies, the way they make money is by charging people for protection to things that they don't need protection from. That's how they make money. So, let's say you get for car insurance or for car insurance, right? 5,000 people on the car insurance. You're hoping as an insurance company that only 10 of those people need to be covered from damages or injuries from a car accident, because that way you can pay them out whatever and you get to keep the rest of the proceeds. But if you are insuring 5,000 people from car accident for like car accidents and injuries or whatever, and all 5,000 of them actually get into wrecks and need help paying for car repairs or paying for hospital bills in the case of injury, then you're sort of scrambling. You're like, well, what are we going to do? And they sort of found themselves in this type of situation here where it's like, we know for a fact that essentially these houses are going up within the next 5 years. Like, we know that that's happening. And so do we want to continue to insure and cover this area when we know that this is something that's going to happen? No, of course you don't want to do that. So I actually have sympathy for the companies where it's like, what are you going to do? Bankrupt yourself? To insure something when it's not even your fault that these houses are going to blow. It's the fault of Gavin Newsom and the leadership of California.
Canceled hundreds of homeowners' insurance policies for residents in many of the same.
I mean, of course, you could also make the other argument in the other direction, right? That State Farm is a big company; they can afford to eat the loss, which is probably technically true. But you don't want to keep on setting a precedent that you're willing to eat these losses, because after a while, people take advantage of that. For example, especially states are probably more likely to be like, you know what, we don't need to protect our citizens from the fire because our citizens will be able to just rebuild using the insurance policies that they've lined up from their insurance companies. Stuff like that will end up happening. It's not very good to let yourself get taken advantage of in that way.
Hopefully we do have that insurance.
State Farm canceled hundreds of homeowners' insurance policies for residents in many of the same areas in the path of the Southern California wildfires. The insurance company's reasoning for canceling policies was due to concerns about the increased frequency and magnitude of wildfires in the state. The company deemed the decision a necessary business strategy to prevent, quote, financial failure.
I sent her the picture of the house when it was burning. So, she's going to give me our policy number and help me out with whatever I can.
Well, I hope that insurance covers a lot of this stuff. That's what it's supposed to do, right?
Yes, I hope so. We'll see what happens when we reach out to them, if they can help us. But everything else is gone.
Do you have an email address for people out there who might want to help you and get in touch with you?
Sure. It's Estrada. That's ESTRADA_S@yahoo.com.
Okay. Thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I know it's a sensitive time, so thanks for giving us the time of day. I appreciate y'all very much.
I love that this dude went there. I don't know if he helped at all. Maybe he did. But I love that he provided like ways to reach out to these people to donate to help them in their times of need, because it's not like you can hop in your car and go to work after this. Some people's workplaces might have gotten burned down for all you know. So it's really great that he used this massive platforms. Dude almost has 3 million subscribers. 1.7 million people watch this video. It's great that he sort of has used his platform to signal boost some of these folks who need help in this in the aftermath of this fire.
Unlike the Pacific Palisades area on the west side, an affluent area where many celebrities' homes unfortunately burnt down, Altadena is a diverse, working-class suburb located just north of Pasadena in the foothills of the Angeles National Forest. As we've seen, many in the area have been critical about the lack of fire department response, and across the world, everybody seems to be pointing fingers at who to blame for the wildfires. However, many locals understand that the magnitude of these fires is unprecedented, and that firefighters and first responders are doing everything they can to keep the fire contained, which is particularly difficult due to the state's crippling water crisis.
I think to be fair, there's a difference between the state is a tinderbox and blaming the firefighters or the firefighter response, because I don't know. Now, I'm not aware of the breadth of firefighter resources that they have, but it's a lot easier to keep well, I don't know if easier would be the right word, but it is more, there's a greater likelihood of you being able to stop an event like this from taking place if you are keeping up with the keeping up with the wildlife and the foliage and taking care of the state properly. Because especially when you consider the wind storm that took place right before that basically caused this wildfire to spread so rapidly. Excuse me. Once the fire gets started like this, kind of like what they said, you're probably not going to be able to stop it. It's just an unfortunate truth. So, and if they could have, they would have, right? Because they knew basically that this was going to happen 24 hours in advance, and they still weren't able to stop it. So, I wouldn't blame the firefighters. I would blame Gavin Newsom for how the state has managed its nature and wildlife up until this point. But that's entirely different. Don't bring any hate on the firefighters. I wouldn't even necessarily be mad. Oh, you didn't send these firefighters out to this place, because at the end of the day, that's not the root cause of the fire itself.
And to keep the fire
I'm glad
contained,
that Andrew Callahan actually made that caveat and made that point where it's like, hey, once this fire started, you couldn't really have stopped it.
And first responders are doing everything they can to keep the fire contained, which is particularly difficult due to the state's crippling water crisis, a situation that by all measures is a direct result of climate change, overconsumption, and corporate greed.
Okay, dude.
Many people don't know this, but LA and San Diego have been out of water for years and now purchase most of their fresh water from privatized corporations, like the Wonderful Company, owned by a billionaire couple called the Resnicks, who systematically export drinking water from agricultural counties like Kern and Imperial. This practice has already caused devastating ecological and health impacts on communities like Bombay Beach, California, which we plan to cover in an upcoming video.
Hi, Mark. How you doing? I don't know. It all depends on if they can save the sea.
But back to Altadena.
Everybody stretched in from the Palisade fire to the Eaton fire here on the east side of Pasadena, over by the museum, the Silmar fire, 210. So it's already, everybody's already stretched in and trying to cover all these hot spots. It's like, which way do you go? Yeah. So, I commend the firefighters and first responders. Everybody stretched in. We're all trying to help the best way we can. Stuff like this, there's no way to prevent it, because how can you prepare for it? I mean, how can you prepare for it? And once the winds picked up, the embers traveled, and then the power lines going, one little ember plus high winds, just the smallest little fuel source, it just sparked, whether it's leaves, canopies, from easy ups, anything like that, everything just went up.
Like many others, this concerned citizen that we talked to decided to take matters into his own hands and stay put to protect his neighborhood, despite evacuation orders issued by the city.
Me, I was born and raised here, my childhood home, so I did everything I could to save it. We're a pretty tight-knit community. My next door neighbors, we all grew up with each other since we were kids. A lot of my buddies were, coming through with supplies and generators. We managed to save, my dad's house, next door neighbor, and these 4 houses with the help of some other guys. We wet all the roofs, the floors.
Got the fires out first, the fires.
It's amazing. I was learning about this because some other people were able to save their houses by doing the same thing. It would be incredible. Like, I'm wondering how, when they rebuild, are they going to be able to prevent this sort of thing from happening again? I'm pretty sure that that's something that a lot of people are actively thinking through. I think it's stuff that was being talked about in the aftermath of the Hawaii fire as well. But I wonder if, you're going to see more situations where people are like, I'm just going to douse my whole house in water and I'll just stay inside and stay chilling. Then you have maybe nature gets set on fire. Or maybe people use the same tactics to save like plants and trees and stuff. But it'd be interesting if you could have like some sort of automatic mechanism in the house where, if a fire warning goes out or whatever, there's like an alert that comes out from the government that says, hey, there's a wildfire in your area. Immediately, boom, there's like a small reservoir of water underneath the home. It's like a sprinkler system. Basically, it sets the whole house, it wets the whole house, a good amount, a fair enough amount, and then the house is saved. Also, I'd be interested to see whether or not houses moving forward are built with less flammable materials. It's really cool to see how many people have been able to save their houses just by spraying water on them. It's very, very cool to see, because it's so heartbreaking to see how many people have lost their homes, but it's also great to see how many people were able to save their homes through courage and determination and ingenuity.
Houses with the help of some other guys. You know, we wet all the roofs, the floors.
Got the fires out first. The fire started over here, and then my son and I, we just kept the water and kept all the ambers from jumping from house to house. So
we managed to save some houses on the back street in Navarro. We managed to save those with water hoses. We managed to survive, but you know, unfortunate for my other neighbors, they didn't make it. You know, all their stuff is gone. It hurts. Yeah, it hurts. Just gone. Nobody deserves it.
While some people were able to stay back and protect their homes from catching on fire, others followed city orders and evacuated, with the hopes that they'd get lucky and their house would be spared. However, most people in Altadena did not get so lucky. As you walk through the neighborhood uphill toward Angeles National Forest, nearly every structure is destroyed, aside from a select few. Here's an interview with a recently evacuated family who returned home to find their house burnt to the ground. This is a very emotional interview, so viewer discretion is advised.
Is this your house?
Yeah. We were here for over 40 years. Now it's all gone. We had to evacuate early this morning about 3:30. There was well, we saw the fires, but we didn't think, you know, that it was going to reach this low. We were just able to leave with whatever we had on and, you know, a little bit of clothes, but not really. We lost everything we had in the house. Pictures, memories, everything's gone. We don't know what we're gonna do now.
Yeah. So was it the embers coming from the mountain caused some of the houses?
Yes, because last night it was about, I don't know, 5 o'clock when we saw the fire, or a friend, her sister drove by Eden Canyon, and she took a video and she told us, but we didn't think anything of it until we started seeing that the fire started moving, you know, quickly. But we didn't think, you know, that it was gonna come down this far, you know, but we just got up and left around 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning.
So about 12 hours ago.
Yeah. And the winds were really, really strong, and it was pitch black. So we panicked. So we just got whatever we could, because she has 2 little kids, my 2 little grandsons. We just got whatever we could, and we just left.
What was the most important item you think was in the house?
My parents passed away, so their pictures, her baby, you know, her kids' pictures. I mean, but that's the least, you know, of our problems. You know, we got out alive and we're okay, you know.
Aside from that, do y'all have insurance or anything like that?
No, we don't. We rented it. We didn't own the house, but we rented. But still, you know, we lost everything. We don't know what we're gonna do now. It'll take us time to pick up and, you know, start over, but it's gonna be hard.
If somebody wanted to donate to you to, you know, offer you some help and some aid during a moment like this, is there any way that someone could do that? Like, do you have Zelle or something like that?
We have Cell that are connected to my husband's phone number. Mine is through email. It's L_Espinosa68@yahoo.com. Anybody that wants to help is deeply appreciated.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's very dark stuff, but it's the grim reality of what it's like to go through stuff like this. This is why, even, you know, on the internet, you know, people tend to hate millionaires and stuff, but even when millionaires are talking about losing their home, some of them are like, man, like, no one deserves that, because people understand the gravity of, like, you know, you spend your whole life trying to, you know, build up a life for yourself, and you know, buy things for your house and things, and then to see it all go up in flames and you're sort of like left with nothing. It's probably a unbelievable situation to be in, and yeah, extremely emotional for anyone who's going to be in that scenario, and understandably so. Wouldn't blame anyone for that. Leticia Espinosa actually left a comment here. She said, "Hi Andrew, this is Leticia Espinosa. I'm the person you interviewed at the end of the video. It was very emotional and heartbreaking for me and my family to see our home of many years, my childhood home, burned to the ground. I just want to say how grateful we are to you. I have no words to describe how overwhelmed and blessed we are. It was a blessing from God that we ran into you when we did. God works in mysterious ways, and I believe he put us both in the same place at the same time. I cannot express how grateful we are with the tremendous support we have received from all of your viewers. There are still good people out in the world who are willing to give a helping hand. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for the donations and your prayers. That truly means a lot to me and my family. God bless you all. God bless you for all you do for others, and blessings to those to all that have donated." Wow, that's real. Whew. Let's see. Angry Dan says, "Nanubi, we can talk at some point about why I want to leave Canada." Yeah. I'd love to have you on the stream. Maybe you and I can trade places. Is it not this stream, but another stream? Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to work something out. I've got stuff planned for this stream already. That I got to react to and plow through. So not this stream, but I'll let you know when I have an opening to do a stream with you, where you can come on and talk about leaving Canada. Now, I've heard a lot about the AFD, which I believe is basically stands for Alternative for Germany, but in the native tongue over there. I've heard many claims that the party is far right or whatever, or alt-right or racist or neo-Nazi or whatever. But I generally don't like to take the mainstream media's word for it when they say things like that, because sometimes they can be deceptive. You might make it be like, oh, you're racist if you're against immigration, for example, or whatever. They like to paint anti-globalism as something that is radically racist. So I do want to react to the leader of the AFD. I believe she is now the leader of the AFD. What she had to say herself about her various positions on multiple things, the election, the EU, Trump, energy, all that stuff. So I figured this would be a great way to introduce myself to the actual platform of the AFD, rather than just taking, the mainstream media Wikipedia's word for it.
As the first ever chancellor candidate, for the AFD, what would the world expect from a Chancellor Vital? What would be your top priorities?
Well, actually, I would like to correct something. I don't want to be impolite, but you just labeled our party as right wing, which is not correct in my perspective. We are a libertarian conservative party in Germany. So we perceive ourselves standing in the middle and actually wanting to introduce sane and serious policies, because we see that this country is in need of real reforms. Let's have a look at Germany right now, where it stands. After 20 years, after 16 years of Angela Merkel, and after 3 years of the traffic light coalition, actually funny name, right, isn't it? Germany is not in a very good state. We have the highest energy prices worldwide. We are in the middle of a migration crisis. We got a million influx of immigrants, illegals, we don't know. Germany actually literally has no borders, no border control, nothing. So we have...
How is that true? It would be ridiculous if that was a literal thing. How? Germany is a country that has lasted for hundreds of years. I believe, I want to say. How in the world has Germany had no borders at all and no border control at all? I understand that, globalism is the hip new thing that you do to prove that you're not racist, but it wasn't always like that. And we all know full well that Germany was not always on board with that type of agenda either. So like, I am very, very curious. I would be shocked if it was true that there were no borders at all and no border patrol. Now, maybe the border's not being enforced. That's an entirely different thing, though, than saying that there's literally no border at all. That's very dramatic. I'd be shocked if that was the case.
Criminal rates skyrocketing, and taxes are too high, so a middle-class taxpayers earning, let's say, 50,000 euros a year has to pay over half. So I think there's a lot of room of real policy making, lowering taxes.
Okay.
And then having also a serious energy policy. Germany is the only country having switched off nuclear power plants. So this country government has some.
Wait, that doesn't sound right. I read articles about some countries shutting off power plants. I don't think it was Germany though. I remember this because there was like a wacko environmentalist who was like protesting by let me see, there was a wacko who was like protesting a power plant, and he like clung to one of the installations that prevented them from like bulldozing it or whatever. Nuclear power plant shut down, protester arrested. I know the protester was arrested. Oh no, that was actually Germany. Never mind. I correct myself. That was actually Germany.
Imposed a obnoxious policy making, having a industrial country like Germany just being supported. Sorry, it's very important to have a status quo here. To have an industrial country like Germany, just like being dependent on solar and wind power, and this is not serious, right?
So translate that into me for sort of top 3 policy initiatives that you would put in if you were Chancellor of Germany.
Mm-hmm. Border control, lowering taxes, and switching on the nuclear power plants.
And one of the other sort of things that I think,
dude, I love this because like even Trump is concise to the point of being elementary, but even he is not as concise as Wido was right there. You know, people like to be extremely verbose, especially in politics, and I'd love to have phrases and paragraphs for each of their policies. But I love that she literally was just like, border control, lower taxes, nuclear power. Like, having 2 words for each of the major policies that you want to enact is great, and it gives people a very clear vision of what it is that you actually want. Person kind of seems like a rock star right now, even though claiming that there's no border at all is a little wild. I'd be shocked if that was true. But other than that, I'm on board so far.
Border control, lowering taxes, and switching on the nuclear power plants.
And one of the other sort of things that I think sort of concerns many people within our audience, particularly the investor, business, and economist community, is this idea of withdrawing from the euro, of withdrawing from the EU, which would be seen by many in the mainstream, yes, as economically catastrophic for Germany. Many of the right-wing parties that have been successful in Germany have abandoned this initiative. You have not. Why?
We don't see that the European Union in its current state is an institution. By
the way, to be clear, she called herself a libertarian conservative. I don't think that this is a libertarian policy to switch from the euro to the I don't even know what they have, the Dutch dollar. This is, I would say, a nationalist position, right? So you know, if they're calling the FDE alt-right or far-right or whatever, you would see if they were indeed an alt-right or far-right. And by the way, it's possible, I haven't made up my mind yet, that they are a far-right or alt-right party. You would see nationalist policies. This is one of those types of nationalist policies where it's like, oh no, we're going to switch to our own currency. Right, versus Trump saying, "Oh, we're going to have a Bitcoin reserve." Like, going to something like Bitcoin would be more of a libertarian policy than switching to a federally controlled fiat currency, right? Like, for example, New Hampshire, which is probably one of the most libertarian states in the United States of America, they recently voted in favor of having a Bitcoin reserve. I think that if she was truly a libertarian, she would be trying to run everything off of Bitcoin as well. We've seen even Javier Milei, which is literally he is the hallmark libertarian in power, and I think he switched his country to libertarian to Bitcoin as well. So I think this sort of betrays that maybe she's not a libertarian after all.
State is an institution that is working well. Right? So what we need to have is free trade among the European countries, but we don't need all the bureaucracy. So example, the European Commission, which is actually not voted, right? So you have a executive power like the Commission with also legislative power that is not elected. So this is a huge democratic deficit. So this Commission decided just to forbid diesel and benzene, like all the traditional fossil motor, right? So what happened?
I'm sorry, when she asked about the currency, let me go back. I know it's a minute. I do want to go back to make sure I didn't miss anything. But she was asked about the currency. She's talking about diesel.
In its current state is an institution that is working well. Right? So what we need to have is free trade among the European countries, but we don't need all the bureaucracy. So example.
Okay, I do want to knock her on this point, because if she wants free trade, it's important, or at least helpful, to have a common currency with which to trade with those other countries. That's why I think Javier Milei in Argentina supports free trade, and switching to Bitcoin is an international currency. So, you know, that doesn't hurt things. If you want to be an international currency, switching to the pound or the US dollar is the way to go, right? We don't need a million, billion, trillion currencies from all of these itty bitty, teeny tiny countries flooding into the market. Then you've got, like, as inflation increases and decreases, you've got all these crazy stuff going on with Forex and, you know, changing and fluctuating currency values, wildly changing the prices of products as you buy them, both importing and exporting. It's just not helpful. If you want to have free trade, I actually don't think that switching away from the euro is what you want to do. I'm really not seeing the connection there between supporting free trade and leaving the EU.
The European Commission, which is actually not voted, right? So you have a executive power like the Commission with also legislative power that is not elected. So this is a huge democratic deficit. So this Commission decided just to forbid diesel and benzene, like all the traditional fossil motor, right?
And I agree that this is an issue, but that's not addressing the currency problem, right? Unless you're talking about a form of government and, like, saying, oh, I don't like that they were able to unilaterally do stuff like this. We need to be able to set our own policy. But again, the question isn't about how you set the policy. It's about the policy itself. I think she's sort of dancing around the question here.
So what happens is that they actually ripped off the German automotive sector, and this is also, in my perspective, something. It's It's something like a socialist policy making, that you destroy the market mechanism within Europe. And that's the reason why we say, look, we don't need a commission that is actually destroying the foundation of our continent. What we need is free trade among the European countries.
Many people are critical of the EU on many of the points that you make here, but very few are making the case for withdrawal from the EU, and specifically...
Thank you! Thank you! This dude is on it, right? Because it's like, he asked the question and she avoided it. I love how he brought everything back, because I completely agree with her on the issues that she's talking about, but she didn't answer the question that she was asked. And again, I just don't see how that connects to the policy of free trade to move away from a common currency that so many other countries use.
And what we need is free trade among the European countries.
Many people are critical of the EU on many of the points that you make here, but very few are making the case for withdrawal from the EU. And specifically on the euro, how do you envision that happening? Was it a return in Germany to the Deutschmark? Is it then, explain to us the mechanics of how you imagine that working if you had your way.
Well, this is...
I would like to see a why. I have no idea why she wants to do this.
The entire the entire discussion around the Dexit, right? Yeah. So we think that the European treaties need to be reformed, so that...
He asked about the currency. She starts talking about treaties. Excuse me, ma'am. Is there something about this policy that you don't want to tell us? It is quite suspect that she has been asked twice about why she wants to move away from the euro to the Deutschmark, and she has refused to answer the question directly. Maybe he'll ask it a third time, but I'm not seeing a likelihood that she'll ever answer this question. And if she's not answering this question here, where is she answering this question? And why is she refusing to answer this question? What is it that she has to hide about her policy, or does she just not have a defense for it? Or does she have an ulterior motive there? This is a massive red flag for me, right? That she is so afraid to answer this question. Now, her clarity on some earlier questions was appreciated, and I did a little bit of applauding there, but it is a really big red flag that she is dancing away from this question, when especially apparently it's a major part of her platform. Why would you have something of your platform that you're so why would you have a policy in your platform that you're so ashamed of? It makes no sense. I don't understand it, but I'll hit play. I'll rewind to let him ask the question again. I'll hit play. Maybe she ends up getting around to answering the question, but he asked about a currency. I don't know why she's saying anything about treaties.
How do you envision that happening? Was it a return in Germany to the Deutschmark? Is it then, explain to us the mechanics of how you imagine that working if you had your way.
Well, this is the entire the entire discussion around the Dexit, right? Yeah. So we think that the European treaties need to be reformed, so that every country within the European Union has a right, first of all, to have a veto against the Commission. For instance, that the German government could say, okay, we don't agree, we say no. Mm-hmm. So the veto power in the European treaties. And if a country wants to leave the European Union, why not falling automatically into a free trade zone? I highly recommend just a free trade zone, because all the bureaucrats, thousands of them, like eating up taxpayers' money, they just disturb real competition among the European countries. We don't need all of these bureaucrats that have actually who have no clue what they're doing, and destroying our foundation in the European Union. Look at the German car market, for instance.
But of course, this was also the Brexit dream, and that is a dream that I think by most accounts has not really materialized for the United Kingdom, and in fact now trying to restrike trade deals with Europe.
The reasons for that? The reason is very simple. Actually, they used the Brexit the European Union used the Brexit to actually exclude Great Britain from the European market. That was actually
That's part
almost
of the arrangement.
No, but you cannot do that. You cannot do that. This is not competition. This is no.
Hold on. She's saying you cannot do that, but they literally did that. So she's saying, "Oh well, Europe is mean for treating Britain so poorly," which, to be fair, yes, she is right. Europe was being mean to Britain for doing that because they were part of Brexit. But does she not have a contingency plan in case that the European Union does this? Excuse me. In case the European Union does the same thing to Germany, or to prevent the European Union from doing the same thing to Germany. I was on board with some of her policies that she had, but I'm questioning her logic and train of thought here, because she's getting into some very questionable places, in my opinion.
No market competition. What we need to have is a free zone, and someone who decides, actually, I have something against, like Cameron did. Yeah. He said, look, I don't agree with open border policies. I don't agree with your policies at all. So please reform yourself. And if they don't move, it is his right as a sovereign state just to step back and say, look, we step out. But then a country should automatically fall in a free trade zone.
Right,
the point of the interviewer, I don't know what his name is, but I appreciate his humility for not bringing it up, is that this was done, right? And the result of what happened in Britain is what's going on in Britain. I think there were some some economic difficulties and stuff. She is complaining about what the EU did. But I don't know if she's having the clarity of mind to be like, well, they are about to do the same thing to us if we go through with my plan. It's almost like she's a walking billboard for the opposite of her position and policy on this.
Should and do are sort of sometimes different. On the issue of the United States and Donald Trump.
No, it's sorry, it is nonsensical. It is nonsensical because the European Union in this current state is not democratic, first of all, and secondly, you have no real competition.
And may I ask your perspective on the election in the United States,
yes,
the
sure.
relationship with Donald Trump and Germany, who maybe shares some of the same views, particularly on immigration, but also in a sort of very nationalist view of things, would be very damaging economically for Germany. How do you imagine that relationship? How damaging do you think that could be to Germany? How does it change your view of the United States as very critical over its influence over Germany and Europe?
Which American policies under Trump are going to hurt Germany? I'm a bit confused on that.
Well, first of all, when I saw the elections in the US, I almost had physical pain how Donald Trump and his family was disparaged by the mainstream media. So I really had physical pain.
Dude, first like Marjorie Taylor Greene and now Alice Watts. Trump has so many simps. It's fascinating
to see that, like how unfairly he was treated by the mainstream media. So I have to be very frank. I actually put my thumbs up for Donald Trump. We have huge hopes with in his presidency, and I really hope that he puts an end on this terrible war in the Ukraine, because the European member states are actually not willing or capable of doing something like that. So we have to tell the truth that we are not capable anymore. I think, because you asked me on trade policies, I think that gambling with tariffs and actually imposing them effectively is a huge difference.
True.
And having a look on our car makers, for instance, because German policymakers, they always say...
the cars, right. Big blind spot for me. I should have thought of that.
Because German policymakers, they always say, okay, German car makers might be hit very hardly by tariffs, but they're already there with their plans. BMW, Mercedes, Volkswagen, they have almost, I think, 25,000 employees in the US. So the firms, the companies, the German companies, they are already in the US. And do you know why? Because of high energy prices here in Germany. So the policies...
Wait, but she wants to decrease energy prices in Germany. So under her vision, you would probably trigger those tariffs getting into effect, right? Because, they would start hiring more people in Germany. Cost is cheaper, so you start making more stuff in Germany. That decreases the amount of Americans that are working in those factories, and then that would trigger the tariffs ostensibly. So she's saying that there's a difference between threatening to have the tariffs and putting the tariffs in place, but everything that she wants to do will lead to those tariffs getting triggered. You've got two nationalists fighting. Well, I don't know how much Trump is a nationalist. He's a nationalist to a degree. I don't know if he's a full-blown nationalist, but you've got two semi-nationalists fighting over control of these companies that exist in one of these countries, right? Trump is trying to exert influence over BMW and Mercedes, right? Something has to give. One side has to win. This is a zero-sum game if you play games like this, right? Trying to exert your authority in this way. So I think it's very, very difficult for me to see a way how this goes in a way that benefits Germany more than it affects America. Sorry. It's hard for me to see this going in a way that benefits Germany more than it benefits America.
Here in Germany. So the policies, these obnoxious policies being imposed on German companies by our own policymakers actually led them to build plants in the US and abroad, because here they cannot produce anything anymore on a competitive level.
And another question, that you had your co-chair out this weekend talking about NATO and the relationship of Germany to NATO, saying that basically Germany should consider leaving NATO in its current arrangement. Is that a position that you agree with, and on what basis?
Well, this is not exactly what he said. He said that we need to strengthen the European pillar within the NATO. And what does it mean? Well, our security interests are pretty much different from the US within the NATO. And I think, in my opinion, that the Europeans should put their act together, doing more within the NATO. Germany, for instance, never have been paying 2% of GDP at all. So therefore, Donald Trump is perfectly right. So we need to contribute to NATO. But it's also in our responsibility to formulate our national interests, because our national interest is quite different from the US. And it's very simple why. The US is very far away, and here in Europe we have this war in front of our doors. So our security interest is completely different.
Do you see Germany's interests as more aligned with Russia's interests than with the interests of the United States?
Well, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think Germany should have taken a more diplomatic part, but Germany failed in doing so. And I think that Donald Trump is really capable to sit together with Russian diplomats, with Putin, to formulate a freedom treaty, because what we need is freedom. because otherwise I'm in fear, to be honest, that this conflict, this terrible war, may escalate.
And on the question also of Ukraine, you've also talked about sort of reconnecting with Russia, reconnecting Russian gas, basically going back to the old German model of lower cheap Russian gas coming in to support industry. Why are you so confident in being so dependent on Vladimir Putin, particularly in light of what we saw over the last few years? Why are you so confident to hand that dependency to Russia, rather than with people that you have potentially a longer track record with of a cooperative relationship and a more diversified source of energy?
Is he saying they should be bringing in oil from, let's say, America, for example? I think the tricky thing is, geographically, I want to say Russia is closer to Germany. It would explain why they bring in oil from Germany, from Russia, because it's like, you know, if you're close, you know, you're right next door, why not make a deal rather than having to build these lengthy underwater pipelines that may not get busted occasionally here and there by submarines or whatever, or whales or animals or sharks and stuff like that. It's convenient. Maybe it doesn't fit with your principles of, Putin bad, right? Which is true, by the way, but maybe you don't want to put yourself into the thumb of Putin, but it makes sense to use oil that is near you. Now, maybe she may want to try and get oil from America or whatever. That'd be cool. I'd be down. That'd be based. But it maximizes efficiency to get oil from the nation that's closest to you.
Well, being dependent on Russian gas, you should really ask this question Angela Merkel, because
it's a policy you're advocating as well.
No. Wait. We want to have cheap energy and secure energy in Germany. This is what I stand for, and this is my humble opinion. This would be the right policy, and the energy market is highly disturbed in Germany. We are the only industrial country having switched off nuclear power plants. You have to imagine this, right? So what we need to do is going back to cheap and secure energy support. Otherwise, our entire companies get bankrupt or they go abroad.
So is she saying that we don't need gas at all, just do nuclear? Bold take. Interesting. Not on board personally, because I do think that diversifying your energy sources is a good and smart thing, because if something goes wrong with one of your energy sources, you've got energy from the other source that you can keep on drawing from. Interesting take. I didn't hear her deny that she wants to get energy from Russia, though. She said, go talk to Angela Merkel about the policy that I support. Doesn't make any sense to me. If you support Angela Merkel's policy, you might as well say why. All right? You know, that's like saying, oh, hey, not a newbie, you voting for Trump? I'm like, yes, sirree, I am. And the person's like, oh, wait, why are you voting for Trump? Why are you voting for Trump? Why do you want to enact the policies that he wants to support? And I'm like, oh, well, you got to ask him why he wants those policies, but I support them. Like, I honestly think that Alice Weidel is bombing this interview.
Our entire companies get bankrupt or they go abroad. Like thousands of people sit on the streets because the German companies actually go abroad. They go to the US, they go to China, they go to the neighboring countries, because we cannot guarantee energy support anymore. So we need nuclear, we need gas, and we also need coal. And all of this, like the solar and wind power plants.
Is she reading off of a note card? Is she like doing talking points? Because he didn't say anything about wind power. He didn't say anything about solar. He didn't even mention coal. He's talking about importing gas from Germany. That's what he's talking about. Why is she going off on tangents about things that are completely unrelated? Well, not completely unrelated. They're tangentially related, but they're not related directly. So it's still not related in a way that is useful.
And wind power plants, you cannot do this in Germany. It's not possible. And you don't need to be a very smart person, actually, to come to this conclusion. This is a funny thing, actually.
And on the sort of question of European politics, again, sort of having seen some of the other far-right parties, or you dispute that categorization,
Absolutely.
but some of the parties that say some of the similar things, they have gone more to the center. We think of Le Pen in France, we think of Meloni in Italy. Is that something, an outline, a blueprint that the AfD is willing to follow in order to gain real influence in the German political debate? Or do you think that they have basically sold out?
Well, once again, in Germany, or the label far right is being labeled on people or party, like when people go to work, they earn money, they want to have border control. People who want their children to have a very good education, they're all labeled as right-wing. So I don't understand this label. I just suggest everyone to read our program, first of all. And yeah, we are a conservative, libertarian party. And what we want to have is, we want to have a future for the next generation here. And we don't want to have this chaotic politics.
You've got to be joking. What is this? She said, he said, what do you think of the other far right or alt-right parties? And she said, we want a future for our generation and border control. Oh my goodness. She should be playing dodgeball. She shouldn't be a politician the way that she's bobbing and weaving from everything that's getting thrown in her direction. She answered like the first 2 or 3 questions and then gave up. Like, bruh, what is this?
Future for the next generation here. And we don't want to have this chaotic politics being imposed on the people. And if you have a look on the Christ Democratic Party, Friedrich Merz, it's a leftish socialist party already. So Chancellor Merkel is the first green chancellor Germany had. She ruined our country. She destroyed our backbone. And this is the responsibility of the CDU, of socialist policymaking.
That is that's a horrible interview. A horrible interview. I'm going to read some of these comments and see if they picked up that she did not really answer many of these questions. When Mrs. Weidel this is from Wallwatts, it says, when Mrs. Weidel is interviewed by a German TV station, they always try to expose her, defame her, to give her opportunity to elaborate on her thoughts. That is much better in this case. I mean, true. For me, as German, it is the first time I see Alice doing an interview in English. I'm impressed by this comment section here. All the non-German people asking honest and serious questions, trying to understand why this woman is considered evil in German public media, whereas Germans here trying to convince people that she is a Nazi without having real arguments. I mean, to be fair, she sounds like she's anti-immigrant. She's anti-immigration, and for many people, they view anti-globalism as racism, and of course, racism is alt-right or being neo-Nazi-ish. So I can understand why, anyone who's anti-immigration is getting painted as an alt-righter or a neo-Nazi. So I don't entirely blame them for that if that's the position that she holds. Let's see here. Is there any... No one is pointing out that she didn't answer many of these questions. I am shocked. Did they watch this whole interview? Okay, hold on. So this is a rather lengthy comment. I guess I'll read this. Says here, a German immigrant background living in Germany. I have a PhD in nuclear engineering from Aachen in Germany. So I'm skeptical, to say the least, on how easy it will be to just switch on the nuclear power plants. That's true. Many of them are getting demolished, which makes it more difficult for them to be turned on. There are some power plants that I think could be enabled, but they're getting demolished. So it's like, you can't really turn those on at that point. So the last 3 nuclear power plants were switched off in April 23rd. In most of the existing ones are in a state of dismantlement. Germany could start with ramping up import of nuclear energy from neighboring countries and work on policies and investment to restart the nuclear power plants, but it depends on how ready the existing ones are. I do resonate with her on the need for border control and lowering of taxes, which she has no real solutions of. I mean, it's not... What kind of statement is that? I don't think it takes a brain surgeon to figure out how to reduce taxes. And I don't think it takes a brain surgeon to figure out how to control the border. You could just like put troops on the border or whatever. If you need more physical barriers, you build them. How hard can that be? I mean, I guess people can make it hard for them, but that's not a complicated solution. The current government broke down since they were unwilling to increase their fiscal deficit. It would be interesting to see her ghost policies on how she plans to invest millions of euros in border control and at the same time lowering taxes, not to forget about the absolutely dismal state of public infrastructure like healthcare. They didn't even talk about healthcare here. I'm surprised because of fiscal policies. That's one of the major things that people like to talk about and hit on. My biggest issue with her is that she calls herself moderate libertarian conservative group. While some of her policies do sound moderately conservative, her party itself is far from so. The AFD has, this is an interesting point. The AFD has profoundly neo-Nazi factions who undermine democracy and human rights, and she is the head of that party. I have a point to make, but I do want to hear what he has to say for the rest of this. At best, she is a populist leader, hiding her and her party's real intentions before being elected. At least in 1933, when Adolf Hitler was elected, he had already written extensively about his plans for Europe. Here we know again what we are heading towards. I guess time to abandon a sinking ship. Now, he makes a good point here. For the AFD being a neo-Nazi party, I think I've actually heard stuff about members of the AFD saying racist things. It's actually why I watched this video, because if she is the head of the party, she should be carrying the banner of what the party stands for. That's like my whole point in listening to what she had to say. Now, if she's hiding the true motives of the AFD, that certainly is one thing. I don't know if that's true. I'm not German. I don't know the inner workings of German politics. But I was hoping that she would be showing off and portraying the true values of the AFD party. It was an interesting interview, to say the least. I am a little bit nonplussed in her ability to answer some of the questions. Now, maybe it's because English is not her primary language, but still, she was asked some very direct questions and she refused to answer them. So that, to me, has me extremely nonplussed on Alice Weidel as well as the AFD, because if you can't answer very, very simple questions such as how are you going to approach tariffs, or how are you going to move from the away from the European dollar to your own national homegrown currency, then I don't know why I should think that your answers of, low taxes, cheap energy, and border control should be enough to make me forgive you of those failings. Like, you've got to have an answer for all those other policies, because you have to have at least sound reasoning for your policies on more than just 3 political issues. You just have to. All right. So we've got a couple more topics to get to, 3 more topics to get to, really. Thankfully, we are finally rid of Joe Biden as president of the United States, asterisk. I mean, he is the president, I think, technically. But yeah, so Joe Biden, on his way out of the whimpering regime that was, I guess technically was, his 4-year term as president of the United States. The White House did put out a couple videos, and I plan on reacting to both of them, but the first of those videos is this video right here. Joe Biden put out this little propaganda piece through the White House YouTube channel called President Biden Reflects on Moments from the Last 4 Years of His Presidency. The presidency in photos. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson.
A brilliant woman. This is a woman who has incredible capacity. And I stood there with her watching the Senate vote, and I thought...
I mean, I'm not going to conflate intelligence with knowledge, but she doesn't even know what a woman is, so...
to myself, she's going to change things. It makes a difference. And it sends a message to every young black woman in America. I can do that. I can do what she can do.
That should never be a motivation to put someone into elected office in what is arguably the highest position in the land, because the Supreme Court is one of the few people who have one of the few places where you can actually overturn what the president says to do. That's a horrible reason to do that. It's like, I don't know, you're running some sort of committee about like how to run like the HOA or whatever, and you just like pick some rando because it's a Hispanic woman, and it's like, oh, I want to send a message to Hispanic women that they too can run HOAs. Like, okay, but did you check the qualifications? Now, to be fair, I think Ketanji Brown Jackson, from all I could tell, had the qualifications, but to me, it's just a big red flag if you're leading with, oh, well, what about her skin color and genetic makeup? Like, why? Why? To me, it's like, if you can do a good job, put the person in. Now, Ketanji Brown Jackson, if you're a progressive, you'll think that she'll do a good job. I think there are ideological reasons why someone could make the argument for her. I would disagree with those ideological reasons. It's not like her position is unmerited, but the motive for putting her in is all wrong. I will say it does put in a nice trend of putting in younger people in the Supreme Court, because I think the people in the Supreme Court might be a little bit too old. So I do appreciate that she's younger. That is nice, but still, it's like, oh my goodness, please spare me of the DEI virtue signaling. I'm a bit tired of it at this point.
She is America, and look at the look on her face in that picture. The same one I had. It's done. 53 yes, 47 no's. She passed, and I felt great pride.
I don't know what that sentence means. Am I supposed to be happy that she's a Supreme Court justice because she's smiling? Okay, I guess.
I was determined. We had to do two things. One was unite our allies around the world, because the predecessor had just broken everything up. And I wanted very much to figure out how I get in touch with all those world leaders, all of whom I knew because I've been around a long time. Could we bring back this solidarity with the United States and NATO and other parts of the world? The second thought I had, I was intent on changing the dynamic of the way we did our economy. Instead of trickle-down economics, my dad used to say, nothing ever trickled down his kitchen table. I wanted to make sure ordinary people had a shot.
What does that mean? Nothing ever trickles down the kitchen table? I don't get it.
When that, as we did that, my dad'd be proud.
But I thought he was actually going to explain how. I was expecting him to be like, oh yeah, we united these world leaders to do this. We affected economic policies this way. He just said, Trump did it. Trump divided our allies, and I came into office wanting to unite our allies, and I don't like trickle-down economics. But like, I understand this is like a fluff piece. It's not supposed to be super substantive. But if you're doing a video like this, like, why don't you say what it is that you did that helped these in these scenarios? I am trying to think of something that Joe Biden did to unite our allies, but the only thing I think that our allies were united in is ignoring Joe Biden when at public gatherings like at the G7 summit, right, where he was acting lost, and I don't think they even tried to help him. Beyond that, I don't know what it was that Joe Biden necessarily united our allies on. I'm very much at a loss there.
My dad be proud. No American president ever gone into a war zone without the military guarding him. But I was determined to show up in Kyiv to let the world know we supported
That
the
was good.
Ukrainian people against Russian aggression.
Good on
We were
Biden. I'm glad
a
he did that,
multi-hour
actually.
ride into Kyiv. We couldn't fly in. We were afraid to get shot.
You know, not to say that I'm in favor of America being involved in all these other countries' private affairs, but at the same time, right, if we are allies of countries, we have duties, we have certain duties to protect them and show support. So I'm glad that he did that, because there were many other instances where Joe Biden did not go to various countries and send Jill Biden instead or Blinken instead. I'm glad that Biden went down on the ground with his own 2 feet and went and showed support in person.
Shot down. We went in on a train. It's a long time getting in, and the concern of the Secret Service was they were going to know we were here, that someone's going to do something to take out the train, but they didn't. I thought it was a show of support and resolve on the part of the United States of America. We are not leaving Ukraine to be ravaged by the Russians. That look in my face there is one of absolute determination. We weren't turning around. No better way to show it than for an American president to get on a train on a multi-hour ride to say, we're with you.
It's just an interesting concept of the video. It's like they're showing him these pictures so that he remembers what happens.
The infrastructure law we passed is the most comprehensive.
There's an off-color joke I could make here to a degree, but I just find it interesting. I really shouldn't be laughing. I'll just move on. Let's move on.
The infrastructure law we passed is the most comprehensive attempt to rebuild America. The infrastructure law we passed is the most comprehensive attempt to rebuild America in American history. I want to make it clear. It wasn't just about Democrats getting benefited or blue states. I want to make sure everybody in America benefits from it, because we're all Americans. And so this over $1 trillion bill over the next 10 years, more red states are benefiting than blue states. I knew when we passed these major pieces of legislation, they wouldn't come to fruition from the first administration, because it takes time to build these bridges. It's going to increase commerce. It's going to increase economic growth. It's going to increase the ability of people to be with one another.
Why did the state build their own bridge, or like pay for the building of their own bridge? That always confused me. But good on Biden for helping them out with that, I guess. But I feel like if you're a state and you want a bridge, that's sort of your responsibility, right?
This woman standing next to me, her name is Shiana, a young woman. Her generation is going to live or die based upon what we do over the next 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years dealing with climate. From the time I got elected to the United States Senate, I worked on climate change. I thought that the only really existential threat to humanity is a changing climate. When we finally got the bill passed, I almost wish it wasn't called the Inflation Reduction Act. It provided for over $368 billion to deal with climate change, which is a threat.
Bro, they spent $368 billion on the weather. That's insane, dude. This is crazy. What is this? This is the new Green Deal. What? Yo. Crazy. Dude, I'm so glad we got Trump back, man. Because this is ridiculous. Spent over $250 billion on the weather. That's insane.
All humanity. And we got the legislation passed. It gave me such hope that we're going to be able to continue to make progress, and we are. I've committed that 30% of all federal lands and waters are going to be.
Oh boy, does that foliage look green though? It does look beautiful. God's nature is amazing. I'm not going to knock that, but like, bruh, $250 billion on the weather is still a lot of money.
30% of all federal lands and waters are going to be set aside permanently, so no development is allowed. When I leave office shortly, I'm not walking away from this issue. I'm going to be deeply involved in making sure we continue the fight. PACT Act is all about taking care of veterans, and it's the most significant thing we've done for veterans in a long, long time. I got in trouble years ago as a young senator saying we had only one sacred obligation as a nation, for those we send into harm's way, and care for them and their families when they come home. Her daddy was a victim of toxic waste coming off of these burn pits where he was stationed, just like my son Bo spent a year in Iraq near one of those burn pits, ended up with stage 4 glioblastoma. And I wanted her to know.
I think I do remember hearing about this. This is actually a pretty good bill. Yeah. Pretty based, actually. Pretty based. The PACT Act, I mean, it's a lot of money, but I mean, I think it's worth it. It's an act of Congress that authorized $797 billion in spending to significantly expand the scope of benefits eligibility for existing beneficiaries and extend benefits to newly eligible beneficiaries, entitlement to health care and disability compensation for veterans who were exposed to toxic substances during military service. This is nice. One thing that's nice about Joe Biden's background is that he's the father of, I think at least one of his sons was formerly in the military. So having a military member as a son, he understands what it is that military members need. That I will not knock. Now, maybe that didn't show through in how he pulled out of Afghanistan, but in general, like, that is one aspect of Joe Biden that I think is genuine, that I do appreciate even as a Trump voting Republican. So yeah, this PACT Act seems like a good thing to me.
All the people there, the one who I thought was going to get the greatest benefit from what we did was her. So she's one of thousands of young children who are going to have part of their college paid for, part of their benefits cared for, because of the service of their father or their mother. It wasn't available before if you couldn't prove that death was a consequence of what happened. I have here, she gave me a little note. She said, "Thank you, Mr. President, for being so nice to us." I have it on my desk. Look, the United States invented these computer chips.
Oh, so talking about the CHIPS Act? Talking about the CHIPS Act? I'm so torn on this act because I don't like it in principle, because I don't think that the government should be paying private companies to build factories. The economy should be in a good enough position that companies are scrambling to build factories in America without you basically saying, "Oh, well, I'm not going to build this factory unless you pay for it, government." But at the same time, like, bruh, we rely on Taiwan way too much for our chip manufacturing. Xi Jinping at any time could just go in and raid Taiwan and just take it over if he wanted to. And then we couldn't do anything about it, and then we lose our ability to get new computer chips. So I think it is great that we are making strides towards building chip manufacturing infrastructure in the United States. It's like, I'm like, because like we shouldn't have to pay private companies to build these things, but at the same time, like, bro, more jobs in America, more chips in America that are domestically produced. I mean, I know a lot of people live in Ohio. They're probably going to know people or actually be getting jobs at that factory. It's pretty cool.
Size of my little finger, the tip of my little finger. They have control of everything from cell phones to automobiles to weapon systems and the like. We invented them. We had 40% of the market, and then corporate America decided it was best to go to where cheapest labor was, and I was determined to bring it back home. We invented these chips. So I got in a plane.
I don't think we ever manufactured microchips at the same scale as our foreign partners did, though, did we? Also, isn't the CHIPS Act, this is for the Intel chip in Ohio, right? Because I thought that it's like brand new technology that like only like one manufacturing plant makes. And so that's why it's like it was so groundbreaking, because it's cutting edge. It's like, oh wow, we're making these groundbreaking nano chips here in America. So cool. Like, I never got the impression this is something that we made here and then just started making in a foreign country for some reason. That was never relayed to me. I never saw that in any reporting.
Flew to South Korea, trying to convince Samsung that they should invest in chips in the United States. And the end result is we got billions of dollars committed to build these chip factories here in America. And secondly, they're going to increase the economic growth in America significantly. The people work in those chip factories.
Maybe this isn't the CHIPS Act, because it's specifically Intel, I believe, who's making those chips.
They're going to make over $102,000 a year on average. They don't need a college degree. It's going to revolutionize communities all across America. It's not only the construction of the facility, which increases the need for skilled workers to build them. It also means once that's done, there's going to be a permanent workforce of thousands of people all across America making serious money. And when that happens, guess what else happens? More barbershops, beauty parlors, drugstores, churches, and communities grow around them. We provided more money for red states to build these than blue states. I think it's one of the most important things I was able to do.
I don't like him emphasizing that like these policies help certain types of states more than other types of states. Like, just help all the states, bro. Like, right? Like, imagine being a Democrat sitting down and watching this video as you tearfully watch the clock tick away the final hours of the Joe Biden administration, and hear him talk over and over and over again about how he's helped red states more than blue states. How is that supposed to make you feel?
I walked the picket line to support the UAW. I wasn't even thinking I was the first president. I did that as a senator. I did those things as a vice president. It didn't even dawn on me that the president's never done this before. But I wanted to make it clear that the middle class built this country and unions built the middle class. And it was critically important to me to demonstrate my support, in this case, for the UAW. They got their...
Hasn't this guy's record with the unions been pretty bad? I mean, when a union person was trying to talk to Joe Biden on the campaign trail, he cursed that person out. He busted up the union strike when it was down to the railroad workers, and they were fighting over security processes that they didn't end up getting what they wanted, and then possibly as a result of that, I don't know if it's a direct result, but it was an indirect result of that, we got the East Palestine disaster. So I wouldn't say that his track record with the unions was great. I mean, I guess maybe for his photo shoots, of course, he went to Hollywood for the actually, no, never mind. I want to take that back, because that's the UAW. It's the United Auto Workers.
Critically important. Middle class built this country, and unions built the middle class. And it was...
I don't know. Maybe he supported the UAW, but I don't. From what I've heard, his relationship with the unions was pretty poor, and he has busted at least one union strike. So it's not. I don't know. This isn't convincing me that his record with the unions is as strong as he's claiming it is.
Critically important to me to demonstrate my support, in this case, for the UAW. They got their contract. They're making American automobiles. We're coming back.
To be fair, I think the UAW did get what they wanted. So.
And it's going to cost everybody wrong. I asked the Treasury Department to do a study for me. As union wages went up, and they have significantly all across America, the study showed everybody's wages go up. So I make no apologies. I'm the most pro-union president in American history. I'm proud of that. And I'm really proud of the union movement in America. Well, this is a picture of me being handed a ball by my cousin from Ireland, Rob. He and his brother were two of the best players in the Irish club. And it was
oh, yeah, that's right. He's Irish. See, it's always nice to see some diversity in the executive branch.
But what it meant to me was more than that. It was a tie to the past. It was our roots, the roots of my family. When we went to Ireland and they did this extensive genealogy, my family in Ireland, the Blewitts are from Mayo, and the other half from Louth, which is on the Irish Sea.
That's so cool. Wait, no, that's actually really cool. I didn't know he went to Ireland on St. Patrick's Day to like go to the homeland where his ancestors grew up. That's so cool.
My family in Ireland, the Blewitts are from Mayo, and the other half from Louth, which is on the Irish Sea.
He should move there.
The ball meant to me more than just the game. Hopefully he was consistent, never gave up. wanted to make sure that black Americans knew how they were being left out in history. When the Emancipation Proclamation was passed, there's a whole group of African Americans in West Texas that didn't have any idea of what happened. This is a day that made it known to them. Celebrate the fact that this occurred. We all are created equal and deserve to be treated equally throughout our lives. I wanted to make sure we knew that we were writing history, making sure we were not erasing it. We've never lived up to this ideal, but we've never walked away from it.
Yeah, I know anti-race, not anti-race, I know the anti-woke people are gonna do knee-jerk reactions and oppose that. They already do this and oppose Juneteenth. I think that Juneteenth is fine because I think that you celebrate both the 4th of July and Juneteenth. I think that they both are good things to celebrate because, you know, there is actually no, it's not. Yeah, it's like you could celebrate America existing and being a country, but at the same time, you know, it's also good to acknowledge, hey, you know, specifically, slavery was a thing we got rid of, and to celebrate the end of that, I think that's a worthy thing to celebrate. I don't think that it's worth doing the knee-jerk reaction of, oh no, let's not celebrate Juneteenth as a way to like own the libs. I think it's very stupid.
Until you lose a part of your family, you don't really appreciate what it means when you're wondering whether or not you're ever going to see them again. And these are their family. This is their family. And I felt an overwhelming sense of accomplishment, being able to bring their parents home from Russia, being held unfairly. It was a complicated process to get it done. The guy that I've become friends with, Chancellor Schultz of Germany, he made it happen. He had to release a prisoner in Germany in order to get these men released. He met Jill at the Olympics, and he said, I'm doing this for your husband.
Dude, I am... Sorry, I feel bad for putting this out, but like, it sounds like he's having trouble breathing. At this point, asking if Joe Biden is okay is a bit of a moot point, but it's just sad to listen to. It makes his voice hoarse and a little bit hard to hear. It's probably easier for you guys to hear because I pump up the compression, but it's rough.
That the word of leaders matters, and I think building personal relationship with world leaders matters. I'm indebted to the Chancellor for what he did, but it mattered. We did it for them. They did it for us. That's what alliances are about. But look at the looks on their faces. To see them come home, to know that they came back, to know that they were going to be okay, mattered a great deal to me. I remember taking off my lapel pin and giving it to one of them who saying, welcome home. And quote my dad. He said, Joey, family's the beginning, the middle, and end. Uniting families matters. I just felt so good about it. I felt a great deal of pride and a great deal of thanks to the Germans for releasing that prisoner. A lot of emotions that day. Standing with my son Hunter and my daughter Ashley and Jill, and the most searing one was my son Bo wasn't there. He was someone I relied upon. He was someone who really someday should have been taking that office, not me. I had my hand on the family Bible that's been around since the late 1800s. And all I could think about was, I just hope he was looking down. We're the first nation in the world built on an idea. The idea was we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal. That's what we believe. I was asked by Xi Jinping when I spent 80 hours alone with him. And we're in the Tibetan Plateau, and he turned to me and he said, can you define America for me? I said, yes, one word, possible.
I'm sorry. That's just, it was just too hilarious for me not to recount.
We're a nation of possibilities. That's who we are. That's what we never give up on.
Like, let me see if I can find the clip. Hold on, here it is. Where is it? Here it is, yeah.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was in the foothills of the Himalayas.
I'm sorry. I'm sure they turned off the comments, right? Because yeah, bro, look at that like in this like ratio. But very interesting video. it's a nice reminder to see what we have overcome as a great nation in ridding ourselves of the old ridding ourselves of Joe Biden. I'm sure he had fun, right? He had lots of chocolate chip, but it's time to have more serious people in the White House. So, yeah, nice, cool. Bye, Biden. Oh man. All right, one last video to react to here before we wrap things up. Joe Biden, he did release this video. It was a farewell address that he did to sort of like cap off his presidency. I did want to react to that because I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, kind of see what I thought about it, see kind of what sort of spin he puts on his presidency. I didn't find it particularly impressive. I found his ability to survive the term impressive for sure, but beyond that I didn't really find anything particularly impressive. But let's see if he points at anything great or grand that he ended up doing.
My fellow Americans, I'm speaking to you tonight from the Oval Office. Before I begin, let me speak to important
it looks
news
like he's already started packing up his things. There's nothing on the desk.
From earlier today. After 8 months of nonstop negotiation, by my administration, a ceasefire and a hostage deal has been reached by Israel and Hamas. The elements of which I
It was
laid
not
out
by your
in
administration, but okay, sure.
great detail in May of this year. This plan was developed and negotiated by my team and will be largely implemented by the incoming administration. That's why I told my team to keep the incoming administration fully informed, because that's how it should be, working together as Americans. This will be my final address to you from the American people from the Oval Office, from this desk as president. And I've been thinking a lot about who we are and maybe more importantly, who we should be.
Why is the skin tone of his hands so much different than the skin tone on his face? The makeup department should do the makeup on the hands too.
Long ago in New York Harbor, an iron worker installed beam after beam, day after day. He was joined by steel workers, stonemasons, engineers. They built not just a single structure, but a beacon of freedom. The very idea of America was so big, we felt the entire world needed to see. The Statue of Liberty, a gift from France after our Civil War. Like the very idea of America, it was built not by one person, but by many people, from every background and from around the world. Like America, the Statue of Liberty is not standing still. Her foot literally steps forward atop a broken chain of human bondage. She's on the march, and she literally moves.
That's kind of cool. I didn't know that.
She was built to sway back and forth to withstand the fury of stormy weather, to stand the test of time because storms are always coming. She sways a few inches, but she never falls into the current below. An engineering marvel. The Statue of Liberty is also an enduring symbol of the soul of our nation. A soul shaped by forces that bring us together and by forces that pull us apart.
Based.
And yet through good times and tough times, we've withstood it all. A nation of pioneers and explorers, of dreamers and doers, of ancestors native to this land, of ancestors who came by force. A nation of immigrants who came to build a better life. A nation holding the torch of the most powerful idea ever in the history of the world. That all of us are created equal. That all of us deserve to be treated with dignity, justice, and fairness. That democracy must defend and be defined and be imposed, moved in every way possible. Our right.
That what? What did he say? That democracy must defend, defined, and be deposed? What does that mean?
Justice and fairness. That democracy must defend and be defined and be imposed, moved in every way possible.
What?
Our right.
What does that mean? What? Bro is yapping.
It's our freedoms, our dreams. But we know the idea of America, our institution, our people, our values that uphold it are constantly being tested. Ongoing debates about power and the exercise of power. But whether we lead by the example of our power or the power of our example, whether we show the courage to stand up to the abuse of power or we yield to it. After 50 years at the center of all of this, I know that believing in the idea of America means respecting the institutions that govern a free society.
I will say, I am going to miss having a more traditional statesman in the White House, because this type of prose is pretty cute. Like, I'm not going to pretend that it's substantive, but I'm not going to pretend that it's offensive either. These are nice, flowery words that you generally want to hear from your president. And I know that Trump will probably oblige begrudgingly, to some extent, to my desire to hear such sweet, savory words from the lips of the president of the United States himself. But more often than not, he's going to be pretty coarse, he's going to be pretty brash, and we're not going to be able to get this sort of flowery language for another 4 more years. So it is a little bit sad to see that style of presentation go away.
The presidency, the Congress, the courts, a free and independent press, institutions that are rooted, they just might not reflect the timeless words, but they echo the words of the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Rooted in the timeless words of the Constitution, we the people. Our system of separation of powers, checks and balances, it may not be perfect, but it's maintained our democracy for nearly 250 years. Longer than any other nation in history that's ever tried such a bold experiment. In the past 4 years, our democracy has held strong. And every day I've kept my commitment to be president for all Americans through one of the toughest periods in our nation's history. I've had a great partner in Vice President Kamala Harris. It's been the honor of my life to see the resilience.
I don't think I ever would have heard. I don't think I ever would have thought that I would have ever had heard Joe Biden say, you know, Kamala Harris has been a great partner to me. But go off, King.
It's been the honor of my life to see the resilience of essential workers getting us through a once-in-a-century pandemic. The heroism of service members and first responders keeping us safe. The determination of advocates standing up for our rights and our freedoms instead of losing their jobs to an economic crisis that we inherited. Millions of Americans now have the dignity of work. Millions of entrepreneurs and companies creating new businesses and industries, hiring American workers, using American products. And together, we've launched a new era of American possibilities. One of the greatest modernizations of infrastructure in our entire history.
Got to give him credit for that.
Bridges, clean water, affordable high-speed internet for every American.
Yeah, got to give him credit. Got to give him credit.
Credit's due. Semiconductor, smaller than the tip of my little finger, and now it's bringing those chip factories and those jobs back to America where they belong.
Oh, he's saying we invented the semiconductor. Now we invented the specific semiconductors that are being built in the new factories that were caused with the chips Act. That was so confusing because I was like, we never were the major manufacturers of these cutting edge chips. I was so confused by that, but the way that he worded it here, it makes a lot more sense. Yes, we did invent semiconductors, I believe.
Creating thousands of jobs. Finally, giving Medicare the power to negotiate lower prescription drug prices for millions of seniors. And finally, doing something to protect our children and our families by passing the most significant gun safety law in 30 years and bringing violent crime to a 50-year low, meeting our sacred obligation to over 1 million veterans so far who are exposed to toxic materials, and to their families, providing medical care and education benefits and more for their families.
Yeah, bro, I can't lie, some of these policies are good.
It will take time to feel the full impact of all we've done together. But the seeds are planted.
I see what you're doing there, Biden. I see what you're doing. Like, oh, when times are good, remember that. When times are good under Trump, remember the one who brought you to them. Me, your main man, Biden. Right, okay. I mean, to be fair, he's right on some of those things, like specifically some of the infrastructure, because that takes time to build, and I don't know if they're going to be built within the next 4 years, but those jobs that are going to be coming into those towns, even just through the construction projects, Joe Biden's not going to be able to bask in the glory of that because he'll be retired by then. So he does have a point there for some of the policies that he passed.
And they'll grow and they'll bloom for decades to come. At home, we've created nearly 17 million new jobs, more than any other single administration, a single term. More people have health care than ever before. And overseas, we've strengthened NATO. Ukraine is still free. And we pulled ahead of our competition with China. And so much more. I'm so proud of how much we've accomplished together for the American people. And I wish the incoming administration success, because I want America to succeed. That's why I've held my duty to ensure a peaceful and orderly transition of power, to ensure we lead by the power of our example. I have no doubt that America is in a position to continue to succeed. That's why my farewell address tonight, I want to warn the country of some things that give me great concern. And this is a dangerous and that's a dangerous concentration of power in the hands of a very few ultra-wealthy people.
Oh, well, you know what? I was thinking it was about time that Joe Biden went and put the smackdown on George Soros. Man, it's so great to see presidents taking care of and addressing the most aggressive and important issues at hand. Because like George Soros running around buying all these like radio stations, like what's up with that? And funding all these politicians and people, what's up with that? DAs in various places that are refusing to to charge certain criminals due to their skin color, despite getting caught and arrested for their crimes. Yeah, what's up with that? Very nice to see that he's finally tackling this.
Dangerous consequences if their abuse of power is left unchecked. Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth.
Oh my goodness, this is Elon Musk stuff, right? Okay, buddy, I see. Yeah, not like your administration didn't influence or try to interfere with any presidential elections by reaching out to social media platforms and having them censor stuff. No. Of course not. Yeah. No, it's a problem when they agree with Trump now. Yeah, but not when they agreed with you. That was completely fine. Now, to be fair, serious voice on right here. To be fair, the right isn't immune from such hypocrisy. They're actually displaying it now by having no problems with how close Elon Musk is getting with Donald Trump. It's a fair point, fair shot to make it the right, but the left, you can't pretend to be against oligarchies when you've used it to your advantage all this time.
Wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms, and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead.
So what rights are being violated? I'm a little confused. What rights are we missing? The rights to have, blue check marks next to your display name on X if you don't support H-1B visas? Like, I don't know. What rights are getting lost? The right to use TikTok? Oh, wait, no, that's your policy.
We see the consequences all across America. And we've seen it before. More than a century ago. But the American people stood up to the robber barons back then and busted the trusts. They didn't punish the wealthy. Just made the wealthy play by the rules everybody else had to. Workers want rights to earn their fair share. They were dealt into the deal, and it helped put us on a path to building the largest middle class and the most prosperous century any nation in the world has ever seen. And we've got to do that again. In the last 4 years, that is exactly what we've done. People should be able to make as much as they can, but play by the same rules. Pay their fair share of taxes. So much is at stake. Right now, the existential threat of climate change has never been clearer. Just look across the country, from California to North Carolina. That's why I signed the most significant climate and clean energy law ever in the history of the world, and the rest of the world is trying to model it now. It's working, creating jobs and industries of the future. We've proven we don't have to choose between.
I would like to press someone hard on how in the world, or where in the world, these green climate policies have improved the economies in these various countries he's speaking of. It's a very curious claim he's making there.
Between protecting the environment and growing the economy. We're doing both. The powerful forces want to wield their unchecked influence to eliminate the steps we've taken to tackle the climate crisis, to serve their own interest for power and profit. We must not be bullied into sacrificing the future of our children and our grandchildren. We must keep pushing forward and push faster. There's no time to waste. It's also clear that American leadership in technology is an unparalleled source of innovation that can transform lives. We see the same dangers of the concentration of technology, power, and wealth. His farewell address, President Eisenhower spoke of the dangers of the military-industrial complex. He warned us then about, and I quote, the potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power, end of quote. 6 decades later, I'm equally concerned about the potential rise of a tech-industrial complex that could pose real dangers for our country as well. Americans are being buried under an avalanche of misinformation and disinformation, enabling the abuse of power. The free press is crumbling. Editors are disappearing. Social media.
I'm sorry, I gotta stop you because I'm trying not to do too many interruptions, but like the White House, like Joe Biden has been a purveyor of misinformation from time to time. Did he like a few days ago said that some amendment to the Constitution got passed when it didn't? And he got fact checked on X. Like the idea that getting rid of fact checkers crumbles democracy is absolutely ludicrous. Where were the fact checkers on the newspapers that were getting printed out back when Joe Biden was a kid? Where were they? Did we still have democracy then? Right? When someone would go and give a speech, a public speech at a public venue, a political speech, where were the fact checkers then? Was democracy just non-existent then until the White House invented it through censorship? No, dude. No, I don't like this angle at all.
Free press is crumbling. Editors are disappearing. Social media is giving up on fact-checking. The truth is smothered by lies told for power and for profit.
Dude, what watches he got?
We must hold the social platforms accountable to protect our children, our families, and our very democracy from the abuse of power. Meanwhile, artificial intelligence is the most consequential technology of our time, perhaps of all time. Nothing offers more profound possibilities and risks for our economy and our security, our society, for humanity. Artificial intelligence even has the potential to help us answer my call to end cancer as we know it. But unless...
No, that wasn't your promise. That wasn't your promise. I think you remember that one. Hold on, let me see. Let's see. Yeah, that wasn't your promise. This was your promise. What is that music?
Hey folks, how are you? if I'm elected president, you're going to see the single most important thing that changes in America is we're going to cure cancer. You think
Joe Biden has 1 year to cure cancer. I love the third comment down here. It says, never let it forget he made this promise. Fourth comment, my uncle still has cancer. Where you at, Biden?
Safeguards are in place. AI could spawn new threats to our rights, our way of life, to our privacy, how we work, and how we protect our nation. We must make sure AI is safe and trustworthy and good for all humankind. In the age of AI, it's more important than ever that the people must govern. And as the land of liberty, America, not China, must lead the world in the development of AI. True. You know, in the years ahead, it'll help to be, it's going to be up to the president, the presidency, the Congress, the courts, the free press, and the American people to confront these powerful forces. We must reform the tax code, not by giving the biggest tax cuts to billionaires, but by making them begin to pay their fair share. We need to get dark money. That's that hidden funding behind.
What's the fair share, by the way? Anybody got a number?
Too many campaigns contributions. We need to get it out of our politics. We need to enact an 18-year term limit, time and term, for the strongest ethics reforms for our Supreme Court. We need to ban members of Congress from trading stock while they're in the Congress.
But like, didn't this dude come up with these policies like just during the presidential election cycle? Like, I don't know what meaningful steps that he took to even. I don't know what meaningful steps he took to even enact these policies. So, like, I mean, sure, well, W on the policies that you never tried to enforce. Bravo, nice one.
Amend the Constitution to make clear that no president is immune from crimes that he or she commits while in office. The president's power is not limited. It's not absolute, and it shouldn't be. And in a democracy, there's another danger to the concentration of power and wealth. It erodes a sense of unity and common purpose. It causes distrust and division. Participating in our democracy becomes exhausting and even disillusioning. And people don't feel like they have a fair shot. We have to stay engaged in the process.
True.
I know it's frustrating. A fair shot is what makes America, America. Everyone's entitled to a fair shot. Not a guarantee, but just a fair shot. An even playing field. Going as far as your hard work and talent can take you. We can never lose that essential truth, remain who we are. I've always believed, and I've told other world leaders, America can be defined by one word: possibilities.
Sorry, though, him saying that is just starting to feel like a punchline to me now. It's like America will be defined by a single word.
Only in America do we believe anything is possible. Like a kid with a stutter from modest beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claremont, Delaware, sitting behind this desk in the Oval Office as President of the United States. That's the magic of America. It's all around us. Upstairs in the residence of the White House, I've walked by a painting of the Statue of Liberty I don't know how many times. In the painting, there's several workers climbing on the outstretched arm of the statue that holds the torch.
Dang, dude, he loves his painting. This is the second time he's brought it up.
Of the story and soul of our nation and the power of the American people. There's a story of a veteran. This is a veteran, the son of an immigrant, whose job was to climb that torch and polish the amber panes so rays of light could reach out as far as possible. He was known as the keeper of the flame. He once said of the Statue of Liberty, quote, speaks a silent universal language, one of hope that anyone who seeks and speaks freedom can understand. Yes, we sway back and forth to withstand the fury of the storm, to stand the test of time. A constant struggle, a short distance between peril and possibility. But what I believe is the America of our dreams is always closer than we think. It's up to us to make our dreams come true. Let me close by stating my gratitude to so many people, to the members of my administration, as well as public service and first responders across the country and around the world. Thank you for stepping up to serve. To our service members and your families, it's been the highest honor of my life to lead you as Commander-in-Chief. And of course to Kamala and our incredible partner, the historic Vice President. She and Doug have become like family, and to me, family's everything. My deepest appreciation.
I hear that behind the scenes, many people don't get along with Kamala, so.
Our amazing First Lady was with me in the Oval today. For our entire family. You're the love of my life and the lives of my love. My eternal thanks to you, the American people. After 50 years of public service, I give you my word. I still believe in the idea for which this nation stands. A nation where the strength of our institutions and the character of our people matter and must endure. Now it's your turn to stand guard. May you all be the keeper of the flame. May you keep the faith. I love America. You love it too. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you for this great honor.
All right, well, all right, Pete Bozo, don't let the door hit you on the way out, because I don't want to see you take another fall. It's true though. I want to see him in about as good health as he can get in right now. So let's see here. So it's very pertinent and very recent news. The Supreme Court opted to uphold the ban on TikTok, which honestly shocked me. I thought that the ban on TikTok was not constitutional at all. But I do want to read this so I can understand the reasoning a little bit here. It says here, the Supreme Court on Wednesday unanimously upheld a federal law that will require TikTok to shut down in the United States unless its Chinese parent company can sell off the U.S. company by January 19th. In an unsigned opinion, the justices acknowledged that for more than 170 million Americans, the social media giant offers a distinct and expansive outlet for expression, means of engagement, and source of community. But the court concludes, Congress has determined that divestiture is necessary to address as well-supported national security concerns regarding TikTok's data collection practices in relationship with a foreign adversary. I don't think that that's what it's not the job of the Supreme Court to figure out whether or not they should divest. But to say that you can censor an entire social media platform due to perceived fears over its connection to a foreign agent without proof is, I think it's kind of dangerous territory. I mean, what are you going to say next? That True Social should be censored because of ties to, I don't know, Russia? This is not a great precedent to set. I don't like this at all. I don't like it. It says here in the 19-page unsigned opinion, the court began by stressing the extent to which the challenge to the TikTok law involves new technologies with transformative capabilities, which in turn the court said counsels caution on our part. Well, sure. I don't see what the caution was, but fine. The court's analysis in its opinion, the opinion warned, must be understood to be narrowly focused in light of these circumstances. So it's constitutional to ban a social media platform, but only TikTok. Okay, sure. We do have good news for all the brain dead Zoomers out there, because TikTok is restoring service. And this article here from Reuters says TikTok is restoring service. Thanks, Trump. So yes, as TikTok on Sunday said it was restoring its service after President-elect Donald Trump said he would revive the app's access in the U.S. when he returns to power on Monday. It says, as a result of the president's efforts, TikTok is back in the U.S., the platform said in a message to users. Yeah, so this is huge. This is huge for, I don't even know this huge. This is huge for source attention spans everywhere. Massive for the TikTok addicted. I've always opposed this ban, by the way. I think this is censorship, and I actually talked about it on the stream here, that like the idea that Google that TikTok is more dangerous when it comes to data harvesting and privacy, that they're more dangerous than Google is ridiculous.
ISM says Communist China can steal your data if you download TikTok. That's true. They can also steal your data if you download Facebook, because I'm sure Facebook will be happy to sell your data to Communist China. You know, I think it's hilarious that people out here acting like TikTok is worse than the other websites, because TikTok is mining your data. Yes. But who else is mining your data? Facebook is mining your data. Snapchat's mining your data. Twitter even is mining your data. You would have to, it would be hard for me to find a mainstream social media platform that isn't mining your data. And of all of those, I think TikTok's the only one that isn't selling your data to anyone else. So honestly, your data's probably the most secure with Communist China. Because with all those other places, I'm sure they're selling. It's funny that people are like, don't download TikTok because then your data is gonna get sent to Communist China. Your data is gonna get sent to Communist China anyways. They're probably buying data from whoever your social media sites selling the data to.
True.
Communist China probably has the data that you're watching this stream right now.
Like the idea that China is going to be sitting around and being like, oh no, we can't get Americans' data because they took ByteDance away because they took TikTok away from us. Boo hoo. Like, give me a break, dude. These people are just going to go buy the same data from other social media platforms.
Or they will in a day or two. Because, there's like trackers with ads and stuff. Now, if you have like an ad block or something like that, it may block some of those trackers. But YouTube already has all their metrics, so I don't know how much of YouTube's metrics they share to like different like websites and folks though. So
yes, exactly. I agree with myself. But yeah, for those of you who are confused, because I heard some people say like, hey, why would Trump support TikTok? Well, he's actually supported TikTok for a while now. This is him on the campaign trail with Aiden Ross and XQC doing a little TikTok dance and explaining why he supports TikTok so much.
Pretty good, huh? Where's the camera at? Oh. I'll tell you about TikTok. Trump is going to keep TikTok going, whereas Biden and Harris have no idea what it means. And all it's going to do is be good for China the other way. We're going to save.
I think he's probably like, Aiden Ross is probably like, huh? How is banning TikTok good for China? I don't understand that.
We're going to save TikTok. They want to destroy TikTok. So all of the people on TikTok, vote for Trump. Vote for Trump. Amazing stream. W's in the chat.
Oh, this is like W's in the chat. You see everything glitching out. It's hilarious. Amazing stream, yes.
I want to make sure you break your record. If you don't break your record, disappointed. I think you broke it. Thank you, Mr.
Yeah, I think you guys did break it. But anyways, if you guys wanted more clarity, he did speak about why he wants to keep TikTok online here as well.
How do you plan to stop the ban on TikTok next month?
We'll take a look at TikTok. I have a warm spot in my heart for TikTok because I won youth by 34 points. And there are those that say that TikTok had something to do with that. Now,
that's a stupid reason to support a social media platform or prevent it from getting censored. Because, like, you know what? I was pretty popular on that social media platform, and I had a lot of fans over there, and many of those fans voted for me. So, hey, it's good for me, so I'm gonna keep this social media platform afloat. Ridiculous, horrible, limited. Oh, hold on. What's up? Connection successful? Okay, good. Imposing censorship cannot be limited just to the platforms that you like. It also has to apply to platforms that you don't like. I don't like TikTok, but you know, it is what it is. I think that TikTok should be immune from censorship as well.
Joe Rogan did, and some of the other people that were recommended by my son Barron, he knew names. I said, who is that? Tell me, who's that? Dad, you gotta be kidding. I can't believe you don't know. And I did those interviews, and it was actually sort of cute. Do you want to know the truth? But we did them, and that had an impact. But TikTok had an impact, and so we're taking a look at it. But, you know, we won youth. Republicans are always 30 points down in youth. I don't know why. But we ended up finishing. There was one poll that showed us down about 30. We were 35 or 36 points up with young people. So I have a little bit of a warm spot in my heart, I'll be honest.
For more
interesting. So horrible reasoning, but if you were curious as to why Donald Trump was supporting TikTok, there you go. It's because he is a clout demon, I suppose. He's like, bro, I don't want to lose my TikTok followers. Bro, even Trump is afraid of losing his following on TikTok. It'd be hilarious if actually behind the scenes he is addicted to TikTok and that's the real reason why he didn't want it to be banned. That'd be pretty funny. But anyways, thanks to everyone who tuned into the stream today. I understand, you know, maybe some of my audio presets might sound a little weird. My voice may sound a little strange. The camera might flicker occasionally. Actually, no, but it might look a little odd or different from how it looked before. But at the end of the day, I was able to get my computer back up and running, so I wanted to do another stream, knock out another banger, give you guys some more content, give you guys my thoughts on various things. And some people were asking me in my Discord server, like, oh, what you think about this? What do you think about that? Now I can actually finally go live on these streams and tell you guys what I think in a more verbose format, as of course you know I love to do. So thanks everyone for tuning in. I appreciate you guys tuning into the stream. I'll see you guys in the next stream. Make sure to join the Discord. The link is right here by my account. I believe it's right there. And after a while, I'll give you guys the lanyard so that you guys can send messages into the Discord server. You can send me reaction requests, things you want me to talk about on my future streams. And also, if you guys don't have 3 hours and 6 minutes of your time to waste listening to a random person talk about politics on the internet, and you only have 15 to 20 minutes to waste 3 times a week listening to a random person talk about politics on the internet and random things as well, go check out the Non-Newbie Highlights channel. It's a channel where I upload videos that are made up of clips from my streams every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon. So if you have a shorter attention span, like if you're one of those TikTok zoomers, please feel free to subscribe to that channel for more consistent content, because I'm a little bit more sporadic when it comes to the streams on this Newbie Streams channel. With all of that said, thanks so much to everyone who tuned into the stream. I appreciate each and every one of you tuning in and joining the Discord server and subscribing to both this and the Highlights channel. That's all I got for now. Peace out, y'all.